You're listening to 102.9 WFPRLP, Franklin Public Radio.
Good evening. Time being 7 o'clock, I call the September 4th, 2024 meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order.
Recording in progress.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Announcements from the chair. Note to residents, all citizens are welcome to attend public meetings in person. To view the live meeting remotely, citizens are encouraged to watch the live stream on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel, or the live broadcast on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29. Meetings are also archived by Franklin TV on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel and shown on repeat on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29 for those who miss the live meeting. To listen to the meeting remotely, citizens may call in using this number, 929-205-6099. This will not permit participation in the meeting. To participate in the meeting remotely, citizens are able to join a Zoom webinar using Zoom webinar ID 862-3284-5195 and then hit the pound sign. Once again, the webinar ID is 862-3284-5195 pound. Any participants who wish to speak during the webinar must enter their full name and email address when joining the webinar. All participants will be automatically muted upon joining the webinar. In order to speak, participants who have entered full name and email address will need to select the raise hand function to request to be unmuted. All speakers will be required to state their full name and street address before commenting. Councillor Pellegrini is under the weather this evening and will be unable to attend either in person or remotely. Upcoming events, we have just a reminder that Franklin Farmers Markets are taking place every Friday on the town common from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Concerts on the Common will take place Friday, September 6, 2024, between 2 and 8. Come celebrate the end of the summer with live bands, a movie night showing of Inside Out, and a traveling pizza food truck. Sounds good to me. Okay, next item on the agenda, citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. The council will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during citizens' comments. The town council will give remarks appropriate consideration and may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Tina, if you just give your name and address, please.
For short people. Tina Powderly, I live at 22 Eisenhower Drive in Franklin. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm also speaking tonight in my role as Executive Director of the Food Pantry. I want to invite the Town Council, Jamie, Amy, Mark, all people watching, everyone in the room, to an event that the food hosting is having, that the Food Pantry is having next week on Thursday at 7 o'clock at the First Universalist Society in Franklin. It's a speaking event, and we are collaborating with Spoonfuls, which is a Massachusetts-based food recovery organization, Food Rescue. They provide food to us that we distribute to our clients that would otherwise go to waste. So Liz Miller will be speaking. It's, again, at the First Universalist Society in Franklin, hosted by their food justice team, and it's at 7 o'clock. It is free, but if you could register on the Food Pantry website, that allows us to sort of keep a head count.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Is there anyone else in council chambers? Max, name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Maxwell Marangelo. I live at 127 Central Park Terrace, Franklin, Massachusetts. I wanted to reiterate my comments about the importance of supporting our low-income seniors. The town has the authority to expand a limited tax break for them. This issue is time sensitive. It has to be thoroughly vetted before the tax rate hearing in December. I urge you to place this topic as a future agenda item at the end of this meeting. Inaction will only exacerbate the hardship felt by our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Jane. Name and address, please.
Jane Calloway, Trip, 607 Maple Street. Okay. I want to address that we have an up-and-coming election in November where we have 3 residents who are running for office. 2 are new candidates, 1 is a current incumbent. The other incumbent, however, is not a Franklin resident. Historically, I have observed that both Town Council and School Committee fully endorsing incumbents. I have spoken before about the need of these bodies to remain nonpartisan as they are intended to be. In the 2021 town election, entire sitting school committee and town council members were endorsed by the 2 incumbents, including Senator Roush and State Representative Jeff Roy. In return, I watched the town council and the school committee endorse the 2 representatives. This reciprocal endorsement created perception of partisanship, especially since the state senator was not Franklin resident and should not have had anything to do with our town election. Endorsing any candidate undermines the nonpartisanship we should be upholding. With 3 Franklin residents running this year, endorsing any of them would appear partisan rather than impartial. I am not suggesting that you refrain from voting for the candidates that you believe to be best for Franklin. What I'm asking is that no endorsements be made by the town council or the school committee. Given the past pattern of endorsing Democratic candidates, it's hard to believe we can truly claim nonpartisanship. The record shows a clear bias, even with some candidates being unenrolled. Let's make this election a turning point for the town by maintaining the nonpartisan roles we are supposed to have and are elected to uphold. No endorsements, period. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Is there anyone out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? I think there's one hand, Michael Videra. Michael, if you want to unmute yourself, please, just name and address.
Sure, Michael Videra, 35 Marvin Avenue. Just want to make sure you can hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So it's more of a clarification. Jamie, you and I have been exchanging emails on this, and I haven't gotten around to responding to your last one. And it's around the Finance Committee because, you and I met back in July to discuss, coming together both sides of the table on vote no and vote yes to try to come to a resolution and really just have an open discussion around these topics. And subsequently, my wife and I discussed me joining the Finance Committee. So on my behalf, she sent an email to all the council members, including you, Jamie, to express our interest in having me join the Finance Committee, along with the Joint Budget Subcommittee, but you made clear that that is not for citizen appointments. And so, but there was no discussion back or no response regarding an opening on the Finance Committee. And that was on August 14th. And tonight, we're appointing a member to that committee who applied on August 20th. And that member potential member applied on August 20th after we had expressed our interest in having me join the Finance Committee. And not only that, he's also a member of One Franklin, or at least was a member of One Franklin before they dissolved, as their treasurer. So it just feels a little unfair on this treatment that we made it very clear that I would like to join the Finance Committee, and yet received no response, nothing back, no acknowledgement. And it's these types of antics that I think erode the public trust with town government. And I just want to make that clear that I certainly feel as though I was not given any consideration for a position that I feel confident that I'm qualified for. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Is there anyone else out there in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Don't see anybody else. Do you, Amy?
No.
Okay, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from August 14th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion, additions, deletions. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Proclamations and recognitions, we do not have any this evening. We do have a few appointments. The first appointment is to the Conservation Commission. Lou Puka, term expiration correction to 2026. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an appointment to the Conservation Commission for Louis Puga of 621 Old West Central Street, Franklin, Mass. 02038. The town administrator has recommended the appointment of Lou Puga to serve as a member of the Conservation Commission with a term to expire on June 30th, 2026. This is a motion to ratify the appointment by the town administrator of Lou Puga to serve as a member of the Conservation Commission.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. So this one really quickly just needed a corrective action. Louise filling a seat to fill the last 2 years of that seat. At the last meeting, we had inadvertently put on a 3-year term, so this is just correcting the expiration of his term. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Any questions or comments from the council? Councilor Chandler?
Just a housekeeping
Yeah.
through you to Jamie. I see like Lou and anyone that's already on a committee does not have a volunteer form in the packet. It's just the new people. Because I only saw
He filled one out. It may not just have been included in here because we did it. It was a corrective action. But I believe all the other ones have a volunteer form. And I would say the overwhelming majority, if not everyone, usually has a volunteer form in the packet.
Right, that's why I didn't see that. I saw
Yeah.
Ken and Tina did, but
Yeah,
Louise
Louise was in the last.
and Ken did not, so.
Those appointments are very unique because it's a third-party organization that has their own bylaws, and they come to us to appoint those individuals. So they don't actually apply through the town. They actually apply through Franklin TV.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Any questions or comments from councilors? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Louis Puga term expiration correction to 2026. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next appointment, Council on Aging, Tina Powderly. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an appointment to the Council on Aging for Tina Powderly of 22 Eisenhower Drive, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038. The town administrator has recommended the appointment of Tina Powderly to serve as a member of the Council on Aging with a term to expire on June 30th, 2027. This is a motion to ratify the appointment by the town administrator of Tina Powderly to serve as a member of the Council on Aging.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, obviously, none of us need to introduce the great Tina Powderly. We all know Tina and what she's done for the community, but I just want to make sure the record does reflect that the Council on Aging had made this recommendation to me. There were a bunch of people that did apply down at the Senior Center. The Council on Aging had meetings about it. They debated it. They talked to all the different candidates, and I asked them to bring back a recommendation to me because there were so many people, and I just wasn't able to meet with everyone. And so they came back with this recommendation, and we're thrilled that Tina's jumping back into the board and committee world. Right, Mr. Chairman? Thank you very much, Ms. Powderly.
For sure.
We expect big things.
She get hit by lightning?
Questions or comments from the council?
No.
Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Tina Powderly to the appointment to the Council on Aging. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Welcome back, Tina.
Do you really know what you're getting yourself into?
Yes, she does.
She's well aware. Well aware.
Welcome back, Tina.
Okay, next appointment is Finance Committee, appointment of Ken Ojikupu. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an appointment for the Finance Committee for Kenneth Ojukwu of 73 South Street, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038. The town administrator has recommended the appointment of Kenneth Ojukwu to serve as a member of the Finance Committee with a term to expire on June 30th, 2027. This is a motion to ratify the appointment by the town administrator of Kenneth Ojukwu to serve as a member of the Finance Committee.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. Jamie?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman. So there was, as I announced, actually on August 14th, despite what some other reports have said, if you go back and watch the record, I did say that there were some appointments that have not been filled yet, actually on the Council of Aging and a couple of other seats. And I just want to address some of the comments Mike just made. He has expressed some interest in being involved. The inquiry that he made with me and where I met with him and another individual over the summer to talk about the override and a calculator that had been built. And we talked at length about whether something like that would be helpful. We talked about some of the dynamics. I unfortunately think Mike has mischaracterized this a little bit. I'm disappointed because it feels like to me Ken is being judged solely based on an affiliation that he had during earlier this year on a campaign, and I think that undermines his incredible talent. He's very smart, very thoughtful, cares deeply about this community. Ken has attended every single budget meeting in the last year and a half in this room, including in July, when he was one of the very few people that was sitting out here when we did the last budget amendment. I've spoken to Ken many times. I know many of you have. He's interviewed with the chairman, which is our usual process, myself, and then also interviews with the Finance Committee. Just to be clear and transparent, because obviously there was a little miscommunication with the Videras. Number one, I guess like sending an email from the other half of your family to a bunch of counselors is kind of an application, but not really for a board or committee. Neither at that time when I met with Mike did he ever say to me, I really want to be on the Finance Committee. How do I do that? How do I get my name in there? I've been very forthright with Mike. I've been very open. I've been willing to meet with them in the No campaign. I've been willing to meet all summer long. I've met with parents, seniors, veterans, small businesses, community members. Everywhere I go, people talk about municipal finance. I think it's very disappointing that these would be labeled as antics. And if you can't tell, that's a little irritating to me. I think that that's very unfair and I think it's below the belt. What I would hope for Mike is that maybe we could circle back. I did write him an email, some of you are aware of that just a couple days ago. I invited Mike that if there was a vacancy that came up mid-year or at the end of this year on the Finance Committee, I'd be happy to route him through that process. I sent an email explaining to him that process, and it's just a little disappointing that there was a Franklin Observer article about this yesterday that mischaracterized a lot of stuff and actually had a lot of inaccurate information that was not verified. And then just to be here debating this tonight with an extraordinary candidate who will be a great asset to the Finance Committee. So I wholeheartedly endorse it. And just for the record, the Finance Committee also did meet with him and also thought that Ken would be an excellent candidate for the Finance Committee. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the Town Administrator. Jamie, just for clarification, there was no formal application to this committee from Mr. Videra.
He applied this weekend. He applied on Saturday at 2:30, August 31st, formally through the form that every other volunteer has filled out. It's right on the homepage. It's very easy to find. I think, Mike can add a lot to this community. He's very intelligent. Obviously, he knows finance. He's a CPA. And some of this is just a learning curve and a growing pain for some folks. And I think I've been forthright with Mike that if there's a future vacancy, we'll bring him through the process. So,
Okay, that was my only question, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Ken Ojukwu to the Finance Committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next appointment, Franklin TV Board of Directors. Ann Bergen and William Ken Norman. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually have these as separate appointments, so I'm going to read
You know
Ann's.
one at a time.
Yes, sir. First appointment for Franklin TV Board of Directors, Ann Bergen. God bless her. She's been doing this forever. 16 Peters Lane, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038. The town administrator has recommended the appointment of Ann Bergen to serve as a member of the Franklin TV Board of Directors with a 3-year term to expire on June 30th, 2027. This is a motion to ratify the appointment by the town administrator of Ann Bergen to serve as a member of the Franklin TV Board of Directors.
No, second.
No?
I was thinking of something else. And you know I love you.
Not working
Okay, we
yet.
have a motion and a second.
Second.
Discussion, Jamie.
Ann and Ken have become synonymous with Franklin TV, and they're really the backbone and foundation of a lot of this. They've done amazing work for many years, and they continue to do incredible work. And this recommendation comes from Pete and the board, in which I'm verifying as well. And just to clarify for the record, Franklin TV is not a governmental organization, so they have their own charter, bylaws, and systems, and the town of Franklin of the board, the council and administrator have 2 of those seat appointments. So I just wanted to differentiate that from other town committees. It's not the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think this is a competition between you, Pandora, and Roberta as to see who could possibly volunteer for the most amount of years here in the town of Franklin. But thank you for stepping up.
Well said,
Thank you,
Councilor
Mr.
Jones.
Chairman. Yes, thank you.
Never quite know with you, my friend.
I like to keep you guessing, Mr. Chairman.
And you do a good job of it.
Thank you. I do try.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the appointment of Ann Bergen to the Franklin TV Board of Directors. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
Franklin TV
That's-
Board of Directors, William Ken Norman. Clerk will read the appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is again an appointment for the Franklin TV Board of Directors. Mr. William Ken Norman of 18 Daniel Street, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038. The town administrator has recommended the appointment of William Ken Norman to serve as a member of the Franklin TV Board of Directors with a 3-year term to expire on June 30th, 2027. This is a motion to ratify the appointment by the town administrator of William Ken Norman to serve as a member of the Franklin TV Board of Directors.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Yeah.
Same.
Both, yep.
Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve William Ken Norman to the Franklin TV Board of Directors. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda is reopening of the June 26, 2024 public hearing and transfer, change of location, pledge of collateral, and approval of manager of a Section 15 wine and malt beverage package store license, Rise Wine Incorporated, doing business as Poor Richard's Wine and Provisions, located at 835 West Central Street, Suite 2, Franklin, Mass. 02038. I would declare the public hearing. We need to vote it. Okay, we need to vote to go back to reopen the public hearing. Entertain a motion to reopen.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to reopen the hearing.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. Seeing none.
Do you want to have them both open at the same time?
Yeah, we might just as well. That way we only have to take one vote.
How about?
So,
Mr. Chairman, I amend my motion to open both hearings to address these license issues.
Second.
motion and second. Discussion. Sure.
Can we discuss now why we think this should be reopened? Or should
We have a
reopen and
vote, we have to do,
We have to open it.
we have to open
the hearing first?
Open the hearing, and then we can, or we could have a discussion now, sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of one and the same, but
They are.
my bigger question would be why it seems like the bigger thing to talk about would be why the reopen.
Okay,
Then why.
I'll let
but-
Jamie address that
Sure.
before we take the vote to reopen.
So the long and short of it, through you, Mr. Chairman, the long and short of it is the petitioners requested to reconsider the decision from a month ago. And that can happen with liquor licensing before any appeal hearings at the ABCC. And it's really as simple as that. I think anything else that I go beyond that might be getting into questions that are going to come up, and the attorney and/or I will respond to them. But the petitioners of the licenses can ask for a reopening of the hearing before the ABCC license hearings. That's available to any petitioner that gets voted, that has a liquor license voted down.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think the further, sorry, Kobe, the deeper reasons beyond that, I think they're going to come out piece by piece.
Okay.
They'll come up. Yes, Attorney Surratt.
And this is also an attempt to expedite the process and preserve time, expense, resources, because if we were to lose at the ABCC, we would be directed by the ABCC at that point to reopen the hearing and reconsider. So this is an attempt to
Expedite, yeah.
expedite in the interest, in the public interest.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Sorry, one quick question through you to the Attorney Sorrell. You just mentioned that we'd be directed to reopen the hearing.
Yes.
They would not order us to give the license? How would that work?
They would direct you, they would give a recommendation, but it's pretty much, at that point, you would disregard them at your legal peril.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further discussion on reopening the hearings? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Show of hands to reopen the hearings. Motion carries. Public hearings, both public hearings are reopened, and again, we've heard a lot from the attorneys at our last at our last meeting. I don't know who wants to come up first. Jamie, you want to do a quick lead-in?
Yeah, through Mr. Chairman, really quickly, I mean, I think I already did most of my lead-in. I mean, the main reason why we're here is the petitioners have a right to, as both myself and Attorney Sorrell have noted, to ask for this, to expedite it. Very quickly, to Mark's point about quote-unquote legal peril, there's a significant legal consequence to this. And I understand that liquor licensing is very, very complicated. I've explained this at many public meetings before. There have been many attempts every 10 or 15 years, Amy and I have seen it, where someone gets elected and they're going to go change the whole ABCC system and they're going to do this, and all those efforts for decades have died off. And I think that there's no crash course for elected officials. There's no training that is out there or available to be able to educate people on the four corners of the puzzle of liquor licensing. As I've stated many, many times in the record, generally speaking on liquor licensing, we are a pass-through. Our job here at the local level is to generally facilitate this stuff. It's not, obviously there are some reasons for denial that can occur, mostly dealing with concentration of licenses and other things, obviously character, if there's a Cory check and things of that sort, or violations. But by and large, there's very few other reasons that licenses can generally be denied. When Attorney Sorrell mentioned legal peril, the process from here on out is, if this were not to be approved tonight, we would go before hearings at the ABCC level. And another reason why we're here is, in all likelihood, that's going to come back to you. And the way that the ABCC does it is they send a notice for you to reopen the hearing and reconsider the application. If the town voted it down then, we are in significant legal jeopardy. You end up in Superior Court. We have to hire another attorney to go to court. We're going to spend taxpayer dollars on lawyers to go fight something. And the real jeopardy is, if we lose in Superior Court, the town is now liable for damages, attorney's fees, and could be potentially sued, including individuals. This isn't really a political decision. This is one that's a smart decision. This is one that has to be taken carefully. Every liquor license does. And so when the attorney will expand, I'm sure, later on about what that legal peril is, I just wanted to open up and make sure that folks know this is actually a very serious legal issue. I know that there's a lot of feelings and emotions that are in the community for, against, for various reasons. And people have every right to air those opinions. But we as staff also have to make sure we're doing the best we can to manage the risk of this community, manage the liability, as well as the finances, to make sure we're not in legal jeopardy in the course of any type of lawsuit. I know it's easy for us to say, well, that's not going to happen, let's fight the fight, and I respect those decisions, I really do. But my job and Mark's job is to make sure that the town is in the best position possible to not be on the hook for any legal damages. With that as a background, Mr. Chairman, I'll defer back to you for the rest of the hearing.
Thank you, Jamie. Attorney Sorrell?
I've historically tried to take a passive approach and stay out of initiating comments. However, I would like to remind you that I have periodically, as part of introduction of the new councils, given you a presentation on how to conduct a public hearing. And that applies in this case in particular, since this is largely the area of jurisdiction where you have public hearings. Now, I know that you've been brought to your attention various decisions of the courts and the ABCC, etc. Let me just say, without getting into the specifics, it all comes back to how that initial public hearing is conducted. You are required, as is every other board or commission that has any kind of authority to hold public hearings, to take competent testimony or evidence. You're not entitled to simply make up your own mind on how it strikes you. You have to have credible evidence to support the position you take. So that when you're talking, as an example, alcohol licensing, there are various criteria that have been recognized by the courts and the ABCC that would entitle you to say no. That means that at your hearing as a local license authority, you would have heard competent evidence or witnesses or documents, whatever, that would entitle you to make that decision, to support the decision, not that that's your gut reaction. So I can't overemphasize that point. So in this case, and another aspect of why you're here is go back in time to the time when BJ's did not have a liquor license of any kind, alcoholic beverages. And they acquired a beer and wine license from Ann's Market. There was virtually no, and I was here, there was virtually no controversy or opposition that went through. That would have been the time, if there ever were a time, to raise issues about the propriety of an establishment like this, or what's the history, or that location, or traffic, or whatever. None of that was discussed that night. There was virtually no dispute about the fact that the owners of Ann's Market had the opportunity to transfer the license. Went to BJ's. BJ's operated that license without incident until the present time. Fast forward to the last hearing on the initial hearing of this, June 26th or 4th, whatever it was. Again, there was no witness or competent evidence or documentation introduced to you by anybody. You heard some opinions, you heard from some business competitors, but you didn't hear the kind of credible evidence that would have supported a denial at that time. And that's how we ended up with the appeal to the ABCC. And if we go to the ABCC, we're going to be locked into what that was in the first place. And I have referred some of you to the Dean College case from 2022. We went through this, and the ABCC handed down a strongly worded decision that basically overruled the council. And so that's the guidance that I can give you going forward up front. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, again, at our last public hearing on this, we heard some very lengthy discussions. So, a few things to add. Fine.
Yes, if I may, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
My name is Bill Kelly. I'm an attorney and I represent Mormax Corporation, DBA BJ's Wholesale Club. In addition to my left is Gene Richard, both of us who also represents Mormax Corporation. We were here back at your initial hearing on June the 26th. Also attending this evening's proceeding by Zoom is Sam Richard, an associate of Gene Richard. In addition, sitting in the front row is attorney Jacqueline Krepner and attorney Shana Farhart, who are in-house counsel for BJ's. We did not bring Sierra Wolf, the proposed license manager, to this re-hearing, but she was at the June 26th hearing, where she had the opportunity to speak with you, and you had the parallel opportunity to ask her any questions. So I have, by way of request to the chair, I would request that we incorporate into the record of this hearing, by reference, all the submitted documents and the presentation and oral statements that were previously delivered at the June 26th, 2024 hearing before this body.
I like that suggestion.
So, and they're voluminous because I saw it appended to the agenda. So I have some comments in the nature of summation, if you will, highlights to bring to the council's attention as to what your decision tonight I would urge you to make, which is to vote yes and grant not only the transfer of the all-alcohol license to BJ's at their current location, but also BJ's transferring their existing beer and wine license back to the premises where the Poor Richard's all alcohol license is presently housed. So in plain language, I'm going to try to drop legalese, even though it hurts.
Much appreciated.
Let's see if we can do it.
So in essence, let's speak plainly to one another, and if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them, or Jean Richard. I got so excited in trying to save time, I forgot to pass the microphone to Attorney Grant by way of introduction.
I'm Attorney Sheila Grant. I represent Corey Bunwith, who would be the new owner of Poor Richard's Wine.
My apologies. So back to my painful, simple talk. First, I would suggest that this is nothing more complicated than a straight-up license swap. As I say, the existing all alcohol at Poor Richard's location is being transferred to BJ's, and the BJ's beer and wine license is being transferred back to Poor Richard's. It is, in essence, an upgrade for BJ's to expand the choice of alcoholic beverages available to all consumers that come to patronize their store. Poor Richard's, with the beer and wine license under new ownership, and I'll let Attorney Grant speak more in more detail, is going to refocus the new business on craft beer, wines, and gourmet provisions. Second, this swap of licenses will have a positive impact to the town of Franklin. How's that? Well, first, there are no changes in the number of licenses that are out and about operating within the town of Franklin. That number remains constant. Second, there's no change in the type of alcohol licenses that are out and about given out by you after you have decided to lapse into legalese, that you decided there was a public need for each of these licenses to exist. As Attorney Sorrell mentioned, that decision was made many years ago when BJ's got the beer and wine license and when Poor Richard's got their all alcohol. It is well settled, I submit. Secondly, these two locations, BJ's and Poor Richard's, are 1,361 feet, more or less, apart from one another. You can't get any closer without crushing together, I submit. They're in an area of the town of Franklin that adjoins Interstate Route 495 to the east and State Highway Route 140 to the south, by the way my lawyer eyes look at a map anyway. Your eyes may see different directions. BJ's and Poor Richard's are the only stores in Franklin in that section. They appear to be landlocked and walled off from the rest of the town by the highway systems that are built are in existence. I would submit that moving the all alcohol license from Poor Richard's location to the BJ's location does not increase the saturation or the density of alcohol licenses. To the contrary, it's moving farther away from the next closest all alcohol license. So you are relieving the saturation and the density of the all alcohol package stores. That is a big distinguishing factor from a prior decision you made involving an application filed by the Big Y supermarket. In that situation, they were looking to move a license into an area that had a sufficient number of licenses, and they would be making the concentration, the density of licenses thicker. Additionally, as you heard back in June, BJ's will not and does not in any of their locations where they have an all alcohol license sell nips, 50 ml bottles of hard liquor. Nor do they sell single servings of cans, bottles, or kegs. In addition, they do not sell refrigerated cold beer. They let everyone else in the community do that. They will not. That, I suggest to you, is a big deal, because in the state of Indiana, the state has banned by law retailers from selling cold beer. And that generated a lawsuit. But here, you're not going to have any lawsuit because BJ's has committed to you and has been operating under the pledge that they have fulfilled. They will not sell cold beer. Let others do that. Third point, you have an extensive written description of the safety and security measures BJ's takes for their alcohol. Those will continue in place. Enhanced security with dedicated cameras on the aisles, and it's monitored by a security team. Every employee involved in handling the alcohol and the checkouts has alcohol server training, education certificates, and registers a computer program to stop the transaction anytime there is alcohol, so that a manager comes over and an ID check is made to be certain that only those customers who are of legal drinking age are buying alcohol at BJ's. Fourth, BJ's has available to it a label, a brand of products that will be both wine as well as spirits, and they also have that same label available in food products that are available for sale. That's the brand of Wellesley Farms. No one else in the town of Franklin, I dare say, is selling that brand of Wellesley Farms. Finally, BJ's remains committed in their business model to service the needs of their consumers if they are looking for brands and types of products that aren't always already available on the shelves of BJ's. Last comment, and I'll lapse into a little bit of lawyer. The legal standard by which you must make this decision, as generally referenced by Attorney Sorrell, is clearly established through the language of Chapter 138, through the many decisions of the ABCC that apply those standards to specific fact patterns, and by the decisions in the court, going all the way up to the state Supreme Court and the appeals court. One, for example, that I would bring to your attention was handed down in 1982 out of Springfield, where the appeals court said, Chapter 138 in the licensing standard, as to whether there is a public need for a license, which you have already said there is, offers no protection for licensees against competition, but provides only for the service of the public in a way to protect the common good by making provision for an adequate number of places where members of the public may obtain alcoholic beverages. The denial of an application for a transfer does nothing to serve the public or protect the common good when you base your denial on a desire to protect existing businesses from increased competition. You have also, in that same court opinion from 1982, 42 years ago, while hypothetically it might be proper for a board to deny the transfer of a license into an area already adequately served, here, in this situation, with the swap between BJ's and Poor Richard's, the allowance of the application for the transfer and the relocation does not result in any increase in the number of outstanding off-premises licenses in this area. The only interests protected by an action of this council, I submit, to deny these applications is the protection of the other license holders against competition from a potentially active license. And the appeals court stated, quote, "It would seem that such competition would serve rather than militate against the common good." That sentiment, that policy, was more recently articulated by the Federal Appeals Court here in Boston for the First Circuit in an opinion handed down in 1999, where they noted there was an energetic defense of a policy by the Massachusetts Package Store Association. And they noted that that activity is some indication that its members fear that more competition from larger stores would drive down price, improve service, or both. And indeed, I submit to you, the energetic opposition to these two applications by some existing stores in town is likewise some indication that they fear more competition. And it is beyond question. Protection against competition is not a legal basis on which you can base your decision. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions you may, or any.
Yeah, I think I'd like to hear.
Sure. I mean, I think Kelly kind of went over the status of the application, the legal basis. I'd like to tell you, Corey is on Zoom. Unfortunately, he had a pre-planned work trip to Georgia, but he is here to answer any questions that you have. He intends to manage the shop himself. He is very involved with Ann, the current owner of the store. He's very aware of how it's run. He intends to be a big part of this community. He wants to focus on local items. In addition to the transfer, we're looking for approval of the change of location and pledge, a pledge of the license. What I would say is Corey's been involved in the wine business for many years. He is very intimately involved with how the store runs. He will keep it safe, keep it local. And again, I'm going to keep it short because I know everybody is ready to be done.
Appreciate it.
So happy to answer any questions. And if you have any questions for Corey, again, he's on Zoom.
Thank you. And since this is a public hearing, we do go to the public first before we go to the council. And again, I would just ask the public, we heard from a lot of you at the last meeting. We heard a lot of information, but if you have new information to bring forward, absolutely bring it forward. I don't want to stop anyone from having public input, but I don't want to just
repeat ourselves.
So with that, is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on this issue? Please. Mark, just name and address, please.
Appreciate it. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Lindsay. I'm with Franklin Liquors. Whoa, these are powerful. At 363 East Central Street. I'm here with my brother. So if possible, Mr. Chair, I'd like a little bit extra time because I come prepared to talk about what I thought we were going to talk about, and then when the attorney speaks, I want to add some things. And my whole goal is to just give you things to think about that we have thought about as a group of small business owners. So I come here, I have a lot of questions, but I'm really just confused. We had a town meeting, we did the normal procedure. Some of this information tonight wasn't even really said then. You voted, you denied it, it was appealed. So why are we here? The appeals meeting by the ABCC is next week, September 11th, not weeks from now, not months from now, not years from now. They will have their decision next week. Now, on what was said, my understanding, I'm a huge industry geek. I just try to throw things for you to think about. The ABCC is either going to uphold what you said and say you had a valid reason to deny it, or they're going to say you are wrong, BJ's can have it. So why not just let it go to the state to tell you? And in good faith, are they going to appeal it to the Supreme Court? Just ask them right out now, will you accept the state decision? We will accept the state decision. Let them decide. Why are we here? Let's just, you might have questions. Was it legally, did we say no for the wrong reasons? Did you hear, are you being told that we're hearing that you said no for the wrong reasons? And there are cases at the ABCC level And I just want to tell you, and the attorney can comment on it, that the town of Harwich versus Stop and Shop. Stop and Shop had no license, no license. They went to the town for that license transfer. The town of Harwich said no. They appealed to the state, went to the state. At the state hearing, the town of Harwich reasons, legal reasons were this. Number one, they did not want alcohol in that size store. Number two, first off, number one, you said that. You didn't want it. And we had a history in this town. The Big Y transfer failed, or the upgrade failed because of location, but during that, you had comments exactly the same. You did not want it in a big store, right? Second, the town of Harwich told them they did not want, or they had safety concerns within that store. You said that. You had safety concerns. The third thing they said was the giving that license to Stop and Shop goes against the whole drive within the community of that town to shop small, support small businesses. And that's what you said. And I'm surprised people on the Economic Development Committee don't feel that. That's the whole motivation of this town, shop small, shop Franklin. The third thing they did, bringing up more detail, is they looked at the 2006 ballot question in Massachusetts, allowing wine in supermarkets, just wine. And overwhelmingly, Harwich residents said no. And this may surprise you, Franklin residents said no. So they gave their reasons, and they gave a little bit more detail. That was their legal thing. And the town of Harwich won. Stop and Shop did not get a liquor, and they still do not have a liquor license. So what's the difference? What's the difference in that case, in this case?
Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, without belaboring it really lengthy, Mr. Lenzi just spoke to the exact reason why this is apples and oranges. Stop and Shop never had a license. BJ's already had a license, as Attorney Sorrell mentioned before. I'm going to end there so we don't get into a litigation, but that is, I cannot emphasize how substantial of a difference that is, okay, in these two circumstances. And in terms of shopping small, we still have a business who is inheriting a beer and wine license that's still a small business in this community. So you're really at a net gain, net loss of one's flipping one to the other, but the small business stays. So the big difference here, Mr. Chairman, I would just highlight those two quick things. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
And
Continue, Mike.
There is a big difference between beer and wine and liquor, and you noted that before. BJ's does a great job with beer and wine. If this is an upgrade, and you're simply stating you don't want an update, they're keeping their beer and wine license, you just don't want an upgrade to liquor. So I asked you, say no again, we did the normal process, let it go to the state. Find out if they lose at the state level, are they going to sue you, are they going to go to the Supreme Court, or are they going to accept that decision in respect to what the town wins or loses? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Attorney Sorrell.
I want to go back to my preliminary comments to distinguish the decisions. The Harwich case was a very detailed evidentiary hearing before the Select Board in Harwich. There were a number of witnesses and documents introduced, and that formed the basis for their decisions. And again, as Jamie alluded to substantively, Franklin's gone way beyond that. We have multiple supermarkets with liquor licenses. Right now, we have a variety. We have a large warehouse-type liquor store. We are not Harwich. The two cases are readily distinguishable, both procedurally and factually.
Thank you, Attorney Sorrell. Is there anyone else in short? Name and address, please.
Good evening, Simon Towers, 796 Pond Street. Mr. Chairman, Council, public, I appreciate the time to address here. Just a bit of background, my wife and I have been in Franklin for 18 years. We have a daughter in the public school system. I'm here this evening to support the approval of the transfer of the license between the entities that have been discussed here. As a former business owner, I see this as a potential success story that demonstrates how Franklin continues to support small businesses and sets a strong precedence for new businesses to set up here in Franklin. Franklin has created an environment where owners can experience the full life cycle of their business, whether this involves passing a business down to a family or selling it, as we have here. Much of this planning as you go through these processes of selling a business or handing it down happens years in advance, taking careful consideration of local, state, and regulatory laws, which I think we've heard here have met those standards. But I also understand that change can be difficult, challenging for business owners, and I imagine the business owners in Dedham, Attleboro, Northborough had similar concerns when BJ's in those towns started selling liquor. Coming here, just with my thoughts tonight, looking at Google Maps, I didn't get down to the granularity of feet, so I commend the lawyers over there with being that specific. But within those towns, 4 to 7 other liquor stores are still successful within 1 to 2 miles of those BJ locations. And I believe the reason why those small businesses and those liquor stores are still successful are because of the people that run those. Because we do shop Franklin first. Because while BJ's does have an offer there, what matters and those relationships with the people that are at Village Liquor, at Liquor World, at Poor Richard's will continue to be there, will continue to understand what our needs are. They will listen to us, they'll support the town, and they provide a service that is very unique to the small businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there, I think I saw a hand over here, please. Name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Jack Patel, 317 Union Street Wines and Liquors. Mark has covered everything that we were concerned, but I just have one thing. You guys are really doing a great job saving towns money and time, but we could have done this meeting after 11th, and we would be happy except ABCC's decision. I don't understand why we're doing it. I request everyone to stick with your votes and see what ABCC has to say before you guys have to make a decision. It seems like that they are scared that ABCC will, because this is a town's license, as attorney said. They can only request you to reconsider your decision. They cannot, ABCC cannot order you to give this license, right? So it is town's license, and I can just request you to stick with your original decision and see how it goes. We're almost there. Let's just see what ABCC has to say, whether we're wrong, whether our concern regarding this big 120,000 square feet liquor store is right or wrong, and see. And once the ABCC say yes or no, and we will be happy to accept that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Wait a minute. Just 1 second, please. Hand up first, please. Just name and address.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Attorney Dan Doyle, and I'm here on behalf of Liquor World, a business within your community. And again, merely to support the decision, the position that Franklin Liquors Mark has made to the board with respect to decisions that you already made, a decision that you made based on information and evidence and documents, from what I understand, that was presented to you, and a decision was made, and your decisions were based on safety concerns and issues, regardless of the fact that this is merely a transfer of 2 licenses. Licenses as they exist right now, the safety concerns didn't exist. If they were to be transferred, the safety concerns were raised by you. So that is an issue that I think needs to be addressed. I think that bringing this and letting this go to the ABCC is appropriate. Let them decide. They could uphold the decisions that you made, and they could do so even though I know that the town administrator would argue that it's different, the Harwich case is different. I would suggest that it is not different. It is merely the same safety issues, regardless of a transfer of license from one location to another. It's the location change that creates the safety issue that you raised. And I think that's something that you need to take into consideration. Let it go to the ABCC. Nothing further is going to happen other than they'll either uphold your decision or send it back. That's what they'll end up doing. And it's not, like you said, Mark said, it's not 2 months, 3 months down the road. It's next week, from what I understand. Let it go. I would suggest and urge you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, name and address.
Mary Ann Oppenheimer, 3 Magnolia Drive in Franklin. I've lived in Franklin for about 10 years now, and I have to say that I am a customer of all the stores who have spoken tonight. And I want to say that each one serves a different purpose. Mark Lindsay, my late husband, and I have been members of his wine club for a long time, and we enjoy shopping there. It's practically around the corner. Poor Richard's is another place that we love, and it serves a different purpose in my life. BJ's, where I admit I shop, I don't buy much wine there, but I'm delighted to see that they have it. I think it serves a purpose. I shop at Liquor World and buy things there that I can't get in other places. As a consumer, and that's how I'm speaking tonight, I'm not an expert on liquor licenses or the law or anything else, but as a resident of Franklin and a consumer, I think there's room for all of this. And I think the town of Franklin has the wisdom to help all of these businesses continue. And I don't think we need to shove it off to the state to make a decision that's in the best interests of the town. And it seems to me that helping these businesses to flourish and to continue, whether, as someone said earlier, it's within a family or whether it's a sale to another family. I think it's important for Franklin to have the variety that these stores represent and that they provide for the consumers. And I am an active consumer.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak? Please, name and address, please.
Margot Riverless, 19 Sunset Road. So 2 quick things. First of all, next September 11th, well, we're here now, so let's just make the decision now. And safety issue. I believe at last month's meeting, BJ's addressed the safety issue. BJ's has a spotless record in the past, and they've outlined all the issues that would protect us from anything bad happening. So there is no safety issue from what I see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, if I may.
Please.
I would just like to, so I'm Ann Williams. I'm the current owner of Poor Richard's. And I would just like to address the time issue. So yes, there is a hearing, an appeals hearing scheduled for September 11th, but then another one scheduled for September 18th because 2 licenses, 2 hearings. So we would then need to wait for those to happen. We would need to wait for them to return the decisions to us. We would then need to wait some more to get back onto the town council agenda. And as my colleagues at the other liquor stores know, that's going to put us right in the middle of the holiday rush, which is a truly terrible time to be making changes. So I asked for this, I advocated for this, because the time really does matter. Your actions have consequences. They have consequences on people's lives. They have consequences on my life, being able to leave my store and move on. They have consequences for BJ's and Corey paying these lovely lawyers. It's time and it matters. So I would urge you to make a decision tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on this public hearing? Please come forward, name and address.
Maureen Sullivan, 871 King Street. Has there been any? I didn't see the beginning of this. As soon as my mother turned it on, she said, here it is. So I'm here. So I didn't hear the beginning of it. Is there some sort of a money exchange between BJ's and the people at either Poor Richard's or the people that are taking over Poor Richard's?
Yes. That's part
Is
of the...
that a legal transfer when you do not sell the business itself?
Yes. They own the licenses.
So the safety matters in the switching of these licenses. These people aren't going to lose any business as BJ's. You're not going to lose any tax money because they're going to keep the license they have. The people that have Poor Richards, if they don't want to serve hard alcohol, they don't have to. But you're swapping these licenses when there are other properties in this town and there are other people that want to open a small business and they cannot because there is not an available license. If they don't want their 100% full alcohol license anymore, it should go back up for grabs for anyone who wants to open a small business that you support in Franklin so that they can pay their property taxes and they can live a decent life. Now, everyone is complaining about, oh, the safety of it. Where were all of you people, especially you two over there, when my property was in severe jeopardy of the safety of the people who maintained that license to serve alcohol? I know they're selling it, and I know serving it is a different thing, but you people should not make a decision on any alcohol ever again until you hear back from this and we see how that King Street goes. I've had 3 clients that were interested in purchasing and or renting my property, but there were no liquor licenses available. And our clerk here, through you, sir, he has even so much as said, oh, well, get your little pizza pans anyway and see what we can do in the back. Shh. Right here on TV in front of everyone when that girl said, oh, it's going to be, we didn't know it was going to be Red Wing. It's Red Wing now. They're saying she's serving alcohol during the morning and then at 4 o'clock Red Wing comes in and serves food until 10. Is that even legal to have one license with 2 different businesses serving food and alcohol? Is it that one person that's on the license there 24 hours? This town, you're crazy if you're making any more decisions on this let the state take care of it. I don't think you people are qualified. Our attorney over here, where were you when I said, please, he has no liability insurance and he ran that place for 15 days. He was passing out full bottles of liquor and people were driving away with it because he was closing down.
Okay, Maureen, thank you. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight? Oh, I'm sorry. I was back at citizens' comments. Because that's usually
Yes.
Where Maureen comes forward.
Yeah.
So I apologize. Is there anyone else in council chambers that would like to speak on this public hearing? Okay, I'll go to the council. Councilor Frangillo?
Okay. I want to just think through everything that I've heard, because I think, well, I was one of those that voted against it the first time, and if for this to change, I would need to change my mind. Okay. The first ever, sort of unordinary liquor thing that came in front of us was, in front of me in my time, was Big Y. Full transparency. I want out of all of it. Like, I don't care about, I don't want to be, that's just like not central to my vision of Franklin, the control of every liquor license. But okay, it's our responsibility. And so the first one that came to us was the Big Y one, and there were a few different arguments that were made for why Big Y shouldn't get this transfer across. And to me, it was like, okay, there are certain things that are in our power, there are certain reasons that are in our power to oppose or say, and then there's some wiggle room where we do get, to decide as a council how we feel about certain things. And so the big thing going into that was like, how do I be consistent from this and future, on this and future votes? And there are a few different arguments that were put forward, one of them being the competition and distance to other businesses. And I said at the time, I know that was the reason that it went through, and so I'm hearing that. But I said at the time, like, that didn't necessarily move me because it felt like something that was going to be really hard to be consistent on, as evidenced by the next unordinary one, where we said we allowed for a liquor license expansion on Lincoln Street, two things right next to each other. Surely, if we think that there could be two liquor licenses next to each other on Lincoln Street, we could imagine a world where there's two liquor licenses next to each other on East Central. That was the world that I was trying to avoid. But what did move me was it felt, it was my understanding that none of the grocery stores, were family-oriented grocery stores, had a liquor license, and that we, in favor of small businesses and in favor of exposure and in favor of who's going to be working those places, that was something that we could consistently agree upon. And it was my understanding at the time that that was a legal reason for denying license expansion. And so when this one came forward, I was attempting to vote consistently with that. So then the question becomes, well, why are we revisiting this before ABCC comes down? And what I'm hearing is that it's because we're so sure that the reason of it being, of us keeping liquor licenses to small businesses and out of big box grocery stores is not a valid reason. And we're so sure of that that it's not even worth waiting for the ABCC or waiting for the potential lawsuit that would come from that, because we know the case law so clearly that because we're so sure, then, in the absence of it's going to go through, if that's our only argument against it, then we might as well help the businesses and the small businesses in front of us, including Ann Williams, who's been a wonderful resident of Franklin and has helped the food pantry and Franklin Bellingham Rail Trail Committee, and that, if it's going to be the same outcome, we might as well help that out and do that as soon as we can. So then there was the opposition that said, well, actually that is a valid reason. And so I asked them, well, can you give us precedent of why that is a valid reason? Because I don't know the law. And they produced this Harwich case, which I know we've talked about, but I think I'm just going to talk through again, because what is in the Harwich case is that reasons for the town denying a license is the sort of operation, and that you can deny a license to maintain the vision and character of the business community and encourage homegrown small-scale retailers. These are all quotes from that. So now what I'm hearing from you is that's a very different case because it was a new license and not the addition of liquor to the wine and beer license. And that we're so sure that those are such different cases and that this is going to happen anyway, that we should continue to pass this through. I think that's my full understanding of where we're at, and I'm looking for some legal reassurance.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the legalese over here to my left.
In all due respect, Councilor Franchella, you're missing the point I made in my preliminary remarks, which is it's not just the criteria that are valid or not.
The length of
evidence.
evidence.
It's the proof of the criteria.
Apologies.
In the Harwich case, if you go back and you look at the decision, there was a detailed, lengthy hearing before the select board with all this evidence, testimony, and documents introduced. In fact, the legal standard for review is substantial evidence. You have to make findings based on quote-unquote substantial evidence. You've had virtually no evidence in most of your alcohol hearings, and certainly this latter one. There's just been nothing. And tonight, all you've heard two residents in support and 3 competitors or their representatives speak in opposition. So you've had no evidence tonight either to support any of the valid considerations, if they exist, to turn this down.
Okay. Yeah, a different type of case and the length of evidence and the depth of evidence to support the argument.
Jamie.
Oh, Jamie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to speak to your comments before, the historical narrative that you brought through on the ebb and flow of things is very accurate, right? I think what Mark's saying is the onion's got to get peeled back very deep and have actual reasons and evidence of a whole slew of criteria, right? Not just one. Community character. They didn't have grocery stores that never had them. It was a change in the entire community, a whole set of stuff in that Harwich decision. You cannot cherry pluck a couple sentences, and I know you're not doing that intentionally at all, but I know the information that's been sent to you has been just snippets of the decision. You really need to dig very, very deep into the whole decision and look at the contextual nature of all of that in order to do that. And so then what we're doing, I think, is going back to Ann Williams's point. So you go through the hearings, it may take 6-8 weeks, maybe longer. Dean College took a few months to come back to us. That's legal costs for the small business. That's punishing, in some ways, the new small business in terms of whatever their dynamics are. These folks are going to end up spending probably tens of thousands of dollars on hearings, legal fees, paperwork, processing, and a variety of other things. And I think you hit kind of the nail on the head at the end, which is, to Ann's comments earlier, which is, we're very, very sure that going to the ABCC, there is no standard, and this is going to be coming back to you to reconsider, to reopen, to reconsider, because that's how the ABCC does it. That's how the Dean College decision was, too. They don't force you to do it. But they now send, so now we're into November and December, possibly. You're going to end up voting on it there. And I think also for the community as a whole, having this discussion for the next few months may be something that, ultimately becomes more of an issue that people have. So I just wanted to address your comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. How's that, Coke?
That was helpful, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Chandler.
Through Mr. Chairman, just a few things, just so it all comes together. A couple quick questions for Attorney Sorrell. Say this failed tonight. Are we allowed to go and speak at the ABCC meeting? Is anything stopping us?
As I've said, that's not the legal standard. What you would have to have personal knowledge of particular criteria. By analogy, if you were still a police officer and you were then reporting in your official capacity with that kind of expertise, with that sort of skills, but not because I'm a counselor and I don't want this and I want you to uphold my decision.
Right.
That's not the basis.
Okay, let me just follow up to that.
Sure.
Not to sound like a lawyer, but.
Why not?
So, because I was threatened personally with a lawsuit, and there's 6-7 lawyers here tonight, and I do feel a little intimidated, but I could speak at an ABCC meeting freely, because they make the decision. I'm not doing any, I'm not saying anything that's gonna cause them to sue me.
Procedural rules. You don't just, anybody get up and talk. It's a looser standard than a court of law, but it's an administrative agency under the State Administrative Procedures Act, and so there are some procedural evidentiary rules.
Okay.
So,
All right, let me get to the next question then. In this town, we have never, ever done this type of transfer. I call it the swap. Never been done.
doesn't matter.
No, but I'm asking you, has it been
Yeah.
done?
Yeah.
I'll ask the questions. Has it ever been done?
Let me,
Jamie.
BJ's in Ann's Country Market.
No, that wasn't a
they
swap.
gave up their license.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that
Oh, you're
It
just,
wasn't this type of swap.
Right.
It was a
This-
sale of a
My
license.
recollection is not this particular type of swap.
DC and,
Okay, I have the
No,
floor.
he's-
Yeah, we do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Attorney Sorrell. Hi, Attorney Kelly, Attorney Richard, Attorney Grant. I will ask you the same question. Have you ever been involved in this type of transfer, a swap?
I'll speak to that,
Please.
Councilor Chandler, if I may.
Sure.
And to get away from my legalese, I use that word swap to get some plain language. So hopefully to add clarity, but maybe I failed at that ambition. This is more precisely a double transfer. First, Poor Richard's All Alcohol is being transferred and relocated to BJ's. And at the same time, BJ's Beer and Wine License is being transferred to new owners at the location where the All Alcohol of Poor Richard's formerly existed, assuming an affirmative vote. As to your question, whether I've ever seen this done before, the answer is yes.
Okay.
During my 22 years as general counsel of the ABCC, this happened, it was not uncommon.
Okay.
And it is a logistical challenge for the local board, like the town council here in Franklin, and the ABCC, to be certain that these double transfers, to be more precise, that are related, basically travel the path and one doesn't get ahead of the other because it creates all sorts of legal problems. But this is not the first time this has happened, in my experience.
Just a couple more. This is
Yeah,
very important.
absolutely.
This
Yeah.
is very important. Okay. Back to you, Attorney Kelly. You referenced this, so I'm going to bring it up. The plan that you gave Attorney Sorrell, it says there will only be one aisle of liquor. Is that correct?
I don't recall where in the documents that was mentioned.
In the,
Oh, is that in the,
I can't think of the exact wording of it because I don't have it in front of me.
I think I get the gist.
Yeah.
That's my understanding that in the documents, or it might be in the diagram of the floor plan.
It's not, it's in his page. It's, I don't have the page.
Oh,
It's
okay.
there.
Then
I
I
can
believe
say
that
it.
is accurate, that the planned shelving, I'll say shelving to try to be more clear, hopefully I'm not confusing.
That's my
it,
second question, so. go ahead.
Is, will be they're not expanding the area where the alcohol is displayed on shelves for people to go and make their selections. There will be a shelving there. I believe that they have also indicated that they will also be using to feature certain products on a periodic, in my mind, seasonal basis, displays of products within the four walls of the BJ's premises. They do that now with their beer and wine license, as they explained to you when they came and applied for the beer and wine license. Whether it's, for an example, at end caps throughout the store as you go around, and whether there's a particularly nice wine that pairs with a particular cheese they're featuring on sale. Other places, perhaps during the holiday season, other places that people come in and they have intentions of buying gifts for others that include alcoholic beverages. So yes, the general operation will be as described in the plan, but I didn't want you
Right.
to get
I just want to know the
misled.
rules. So when,
Sorry.
I just wanted to know the rules. That's why I'm asking you if you
Sure,
agree
yeah.
with that. So they'll have the one aisle, and it also says it will be stored on metal racks above all the extra stuff. So it can't be taken out the back door like people have had. Like,
Well-
okay, see, I just want to know if these rules are going to be broken, or this is the plan that you gave
Well,
us, and
well,
I'm going to go by that.
The plan for the all-alcohol operation is going to be the exact footprint of the beer and wine operation that you have already approved 7 years ago in 2017.
Okay. That's not what it says. It says one aisle.
Yes, sir. If you, I suggest that if you compare the diagram that was submitted 7 years ago,
Yes.
where this town council said there's a public need for this business to operate in this manner at this physical premises. There's no changes, but for they're making room in the alcohol department, maybe that might be a clearer word, to add distilled spirits, hard liquor, and moving appropriately adjusting the beer and wine displays.
Okay. Lastly on that, I just feel that the plan that was submitted to us, it might not be how it's actually going to be, and that concerns me a little bit. But we can get to that if it's a violation later.
Absolutely, but I think she has the diagram.
So to clarify what Attorney Kelly.
Please, could you just come up to the microphone, please? Thank you.
Hi.
Identify yourself.
My name is Shayna Farhat, in-house counsel for BJ's. So just to try and answer the question to clarify, currently we have beer and wine in 2 aisles in BJ's. In order to be able to fit liquor, so it's right here on this deck. So, and this was all submitted in the June 26th packet. So in these 2 aisles is where the beer and wine currently is.
Okay.
And in order to fit the liquor, we have to extend half an aisle. So it'll be roughly half an aisle plus the end caps to fit liquor. And I think that's answering your question.
So the hard liquor will only be that one, it's not going to be mixed in with beer, hard liquor.
It'll be right next to the beer and wine.
Yeah, and end caps, that's fine, but
Yes.
I'm just trying to figure out how much space,
So
because that's not what you're telling us.
So, I believe in the memo, how we explained it initially was that we have a dedicated space within the Franklin Club for storing and displaying the wine and beer currently.
Yeah.
This same space will be expanded 1 row to include liquor.
That's what it says, correct.
Exactly.
So
it's
one row is 1 aisle, that's maybe I'm
Okay,
using the wrong
so
words.
one for us, an
I should
aisle
say
is
row.
left and right.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I
it'll be
should say
extended,
row.
I'm sorry, so
Yeah,
it's gonna,
right.
yes.
I should
1
say
row, meaning, half an aisle.
Half an aisle.
Right. But it's in the diagram was submitted in the application.
Okay.
That hasn't changed.
Again,
We're
I'm
not-
sorry, I need the rules, I just need the
Yeah,
rules,
no,
that's
I
all.
hear you.
We're not trying to play a shell game or a
Yeah,
three-card Monty.
that's, just making sure. And, okay, lastly, and Counselor Frangilla brought this up. We had this experience on Lincoln Street where there's 2 liquor stores there. One liquor store sold their full liquor to the newer store, and then they got a beer and wine, that sold that. And then they came back to us 1 year later and asked, we have to sell high noons, we need a full liquor license. Now, that would be the second, that would be you, Miss Grant?
Yep.
So is your client, he has no intention of coming back to us 1 year later and saying, I can't survive, I need,
This is not his current intention. I mean,
yeah, I know, but I want it in the public hearing.
Absolutely.
This is what I'm looking
He is
for.
he wants to be what Ann is to this business
Okay.
without the liquor. He is a small business owner, and right now, that's not his intention.
Thank you, everybody, because this is a defining moment of how this town values small business. That's how I'm going to end it. So thank you.
All set?
Yes.
Counselor DeLarco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That, you guys hit a lot of the points, but on that point that you just said, he's not gonna come back a year, 7 years ago, BJ said, oh, we're only interested in beer and wine. And they're back here now. But that's okay, because business changes, and I know the industry changes. And I get that, that's fine. But on your guys' part saying that the residents are here defending them, Tommy put that out last week to defend the liquor store owners. They only had a week to get it. They could have had 1,000 people here, but you guys backdoored them and put it on for a week. So I'm gonna tell you, you guys backdoored them on that one. So, which is fine. I mean, you guys got the votes. It's gonna be 5-3. I'm gonna tell you that right now. So, you might as well just vote, get it over with, and that's it.
The rest of the council has an opportunity to speak. Counselor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Maureen hit it on the head when she said we're not qualified for this.
Yeah.
Because this is I realize it's our duty, it has been defined as something we are supposed to do, but I'm not an attorney. I don't know the first thing about liquor licensing. I know my opinions, but I really would not say that I am a qualified individual to say whether or not a business should or shouldn't sell this type of alcohol or that type of alcohol. I vote with my gut, I vote with my heart, I vote with what's put in front of me by the various entities that come before us because that's what we were elected to do. I agree with Councilor Chandler that I do certainly feel intimidated. I certainly don't like to get email after email after email threatening that I'm going to get sued. I certainly don't like getting emails threatening that I'm accepting bribes because I merely suggested that a business support local breweries, wineries, and distilleries. That's an attack on my character, and it's uncalled for. It is uncalled for to any elected official. I appreciate that people have opinions. I appreciate that this is business. I appreciate that this is money. But we're all giving our time to do the very best that we can with what's put in front of us. I certainly defer often to our attorney, our town administrator, our assistant town administrator. You are certainly more knowing and more knowledgeable and know the laws behind this stuff, and we have to listen to you. I want to support our local businesses, absolutely. I am happy to hear the attorney in the center say that BJ's will be open to hearing from residents if they'd like additional products offered. So I hope that when the distillery and the brewery and the winery here in town come to you and say, we'd like our products served there, sold there, sampled there, whatever the language is, I hope you'll be open to that because I think that is a service to the community as well. I feel a little bit like I'm, in essence, betraying our local businesses, but at the same time, I recognize the gigantic possibility of wasted resources. And I recognize that it is our responsibility to help guide the process and to help make sure that resources are allocated and used wisely. I appreciate the fact that people emailed both for and against. I appreciate that people called. I appreciate that people wanted to meet with me. But once again, I didn't appreciate being threatened. I certainly didn't appreciate being harassed. I didn't appreciate when I asked for the emails to stop because they were no longer being productive, that they continued. That type of engagement is bullying, and it's harassing, and it is beneath anybody in Franklin to continue those type of practices. So I hope it's on public record here that that will simply not be tolerated. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Comey-Ledger. Councilor Sheridan?
Yeah, this is a point of clarification. I remember Dacey's Market used to sell all alcohol. No, Dacey's Market just sold beer and wine, and they had like a deli. And then the other market down there, they used to sell all alcohol. And then when Dacey's upgraded,
No.
they did.
the way around.
The guy told me, I went in there, he said, what happened? You used to sell all alcohol. Now he said we swapped licenses.
The original Dacey's, going way back, 20 years or so, was an all-alcohol license. They sold, and the gas station wanted it and couldn't get one. They ultimately sold to the gas station, and they went out.
Okay.
New tenant comes in, opens it, reopens as Dacey's Market. It's a completely new business,
Right.
unrelated to anything else. He needs a beer and wine.
Scott?
We were at our limit. He prevailed upon the council to file a home rule petition. He got a beer and wine license. And then he came back to us within a relatively short time and said, I can't make a go of it. I need to be able to sell alcohol spritzes. I need a full alcohol license.
I remember that part.
And so then
Okay.
you filed a second home rule petition on his behalf.
Okay. Good.
All set, Patrick. Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was one of the ones who voted just for this last time. My logic, even though my arguments against it were simply because the same arguments for Big Y, but this was a license transfer. My opinion on the matter hasn't changed in the sense that BJ's has made, for all intents and purposes, evidentiary proof that their
a safe provider for alcoholic beverages because they've had the license now, if I'm correct, for almost, you said 2017 with the license when we made that transfer from Ann's Market to BJ's. And through you, Mr. Chairman, to the town administrator or the town attorney, they have passed any and all compliance checks.
That's correct.
Over the years, so there's been no issues, because if that were the case, they would have come before the council.
That's correct.
And if there had been any issues, so they've been proven to be safe over the years, and the individuals, and this is for BJ's, I know they're not, probably not here to represent this, but all individuals who are handling the alcohol, albeit beer and wine, and now if it were liquor, are tip trained, or meet the current state requirements for handling alcohol. And I think some of the biggest concern is obviously the larger quantity of liquor that could be sold, and how it could be in conflict. But I do believe, based on the location, Glen Farmer is right across the street. They sell hard liquors, as well as many of the businesses in the area sell liquor for people to consume on the premises. But excuse me, just a quick question. This is for Poor Richards. They could, for all intents and purposes, if they so chose to, sell hard liquor in large quantities based on your license, correct?
Yes.
If they so choose to. Okay. So this is really, in my opinion, just a simple swap. They're going from one side of the street to the other side of the street, and they've shown themselves to be responsible stewards. It's really tough to make an argument against this, because one of the comments I made at the last council meeting is we have to have a substantial reason to deny something. As I think the town attorney put it eloquently, is we need to have evidence to prove our argument. And I for one, don't see a good argument. So I'm going to stick with my yes vote on this, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Any other comments from council? Okay, I'm going to declare the 2 public hearings closed. And we'll now move to license transactions. The first is transfer, change of location, pledge of collateral, and approval of manager of a Section 15 wine and malt beverage package store license, Rise Wine Incorporated, doing business as Poor Richards Wine and Provisions, located at 835 West Central Street, Suite 2, Franklin, Mass. 02038. Clerk will read the license transaction.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a license transaction for a transfer of license, change of location, pledge of collateral, and approval of manager for Rise Wine Incorporated, doing business as Poor Richards Wine and Provisions, located at 835 West Central Street, Suite 2, Franklin, Mass. 02038. Rise Wine Incorporated, DBA Poor Richards Wine and Provisions, is seeking approval for a transfer of a Section 15 wine and malt beverages package store license from Mormax Corporation, doing business as BJ's Wholesale Club, with a change of location of said license currently held at Mormax Corporation, DBA BJ's Wholesale Club, to be relocated from 100 Corporate Drive, Franklin, Massachusetts, 02038, to 835 West Central Street, Suite 2, Franklin, Mass. And Rise Wine Incorporated, DBA Poor Richards Wine and Provisions, is also seeking approval of pledge of collateral of said license, and to have Corey Benowith approved as the manager. All departments have signed off on this application, Mr. Chairman, and this is a motion to approve the request by Rise Wine Incorporated, DBA Poor Richards Wine and Provisions, for transfer of license, change of location, and pledge of collateral of the license currently held by Mormax Corporation, DBA BJ's Wholesale Club, to be relocated from 100 Corporate Drive, Franklin, Mass. 02038 to 835 West Central Street, Suite 2, Franklin, Mass. And approve Corey Benowith as manager.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve the transfer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Roll call, Mr. Chairman.
Roll call. Clerk will call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cormier Ledger.
No.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Chandler.
No.
Frangillo.
Yes.
Pellegrin's absent. Hamblin?
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair?
No.
And Chair.
Yes.
So that is 5-3, sir. One absent.
Motion carries. Next, transfer, change of location and approval of manager of a Section 15 all-alcoholic beverages package store license to Mormax Corporation, doing business as BJ's Wholesale Club, located at 100 Corporate Drive, Franklin, Mass. 02038. Clerk will read the license transaction.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a license transaction, transfer of license, change of location, and approval of manager. Mormax Corporation, DBA BJ's Wholesale Club, located at 100 Corporate Drive, Franklin, Mass. 02038. Mormax Corporation, DBA BJ's Wholesale Club, is seeking approval for a transfer to it of a Section 15 all-alcoholic beverages package store license from NDO Enterprises Incorporated, DBA Port Richards Wine and Spirits, with a change of location of said license currently held at NDO Enterprises Incorporated, DBA Port Richards Wine and Spirits, to be relocated from 835 West Central Street, Suite 2, Franklin, Mass. to 100 Corporate Drive, Franklin, Mass. 02038. Mormax Corporation, DBA BJ's Wholesale Club, is also seeking to have Sierra Wolf approved as the manager. Mr. Chairman, all departments have signed off on this application, and this is a motion to approve the request by Mormax Corporation, DBA BJ's Wholesale Club, for transfer of license and change of location of the license currently held at NDO Enterprises Incorporated, DBA Port Richards Wine and Spirits, to be relocated from 835 West Central Street, Suite 2, Franklin, Mass. to 100 Corporate Drive, Franklin, Mass. 02038, and to approve Sierra Wolf as the manager.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve the transfer and change of location approval of manager to Mormax Corporation, doing business as BJ's Wholesale Club. Let's go right to a roll call vote, so clerk will call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheridan?
Yes.
Cormier Ledger?
No.
Chandler?
No.
Frangillo?
Yes.
Pellegrin's absence. Hamblin?
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair?
No.
Chair?
Yes.
It's 5-3, one absent, sir.
Motion carries. Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda is presentations and discussions. Is Pete here? Oh,
He's right there.
he's right there. Okay.
Can I say one thing before I go? I'm so sorry, guys.
Not right now.
Okay, thank you.
But if you'd like to call tomorrow,
Sorry, Mike.
call the town.
Oh, no, I just want to say, even though we're not happy with the decision or something, you're not gonna get any bad emails or death threats from us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
It's much
Pete
appreciated.
Fasciano, Franklin TV.
One decent person.
Welcome.
This isn't a scam.
Good evening to all. I'm here repeating basically something that we did 3 years ago to bring you up to speed on where we are. And I'll click through these things in fairly brisk order. And before I begin, I'll just comment on the board members that we have. I'm particularly proud of the fact.
Thank you, Steve.
I'm particularly proud of the fact that the board members are very active in our organization. They really drive an agenda, help shape the vision, and they are actively involved in producing content, producing television and radio. So that means they know in the first person everything that we do, how we do it, how we work, and appreciate that very much. So that very high level of engagement from them, from Ann, from Ken, Steve Sherlock, Jim Derrick, and the rest, really makes for excellent shorthand communications between myself, my staff, and the board members. So we're all very much engaged, very much in sync, and I thank them for their active participation. Not every board is as engaged and as deeply understanding of what we do. That said, I'll do a little bit of boilerplate right here, who we are as Franklin TV. and WFPR-FM. You have before you this PowerPoint. And I would also add, by the way, that everything that I'm going through tonight is available on our website. So anyone who goes to our website, franklin.tv, can simply click on our program guide, and the PowerPoint and what I'm showing you tonight is an addendum to our weekly program guide. It'll be there this week and next week. A little bit of boilerplate. We run the 3 public access, education, and government channels under contract to the town. So we are providers of that service. We also operate a local community radio station, which was licensed back in 2017, and today is quite successful. This is an insert that actually made it into the mail yesterday and today in Franklin Town News about our TV and our radio operation. And that insert is available to all who subscribe. It is also included in our program guide along with the PowerPoint. And it indicates that we've got quite a few volunteers, people who are actively engaged. These are our 2 websites, the TV station on the left, the radio station on the right. There are 2 other ways to get a hold of us, franklinmatters.org, and also under a larger masthead, Franklin News. franklinmatters.org and us are operating in close collaboration under the idea of you can watch, listen, and read and know what's going on around town if you simply click on Franklin News. Again, we are not a Department of Town Services. We're a nonprofit organization. We also pay tax as an annual pilot fee to the town, $4,000 every year. That's a volunteer payment. We're happy to make it because, like everyone else, we also need town services, police, fire, and the like. We're not part of Comcast or Verizon. A lot of people think we are sometimes, and we do get a few phone calls saying, I'm having a problem with my cable service. We are supported by cable subscribers. Comcast and Verizon collect a fee, and per state federal law, that fee supports local TV studios. Our staff, I'm the executive director. Chris Flynn is a production manager. We have 2 community producers who are responsible for videography, graphics, editing, audio. And we have 1 person who manages the radio station, and then we have a few freelancers. We have no administrative or support staff, and volunteers produce and host all their own radio programs. So we run pretty lean and mean. What we do, we cover community events, we create TV programs for Franklin residents, that's all free. We live stream many school sports and events. We carry the local government meetings such as this one, and we operate the radio station. Quantifying our value proposition. We're not a commercial enterprise, but what if we were? Comes to the point of, if we were not here, what would it cost for someone to do what we do? What's the market value? We run currently on around $600,000 a year. That's the money that the cable companies collect. The number of programs that we create annually on a 3-year average is around 425. That's still a pretty good number given that we've just come off of COVID when things really quieted down. Putting a number on that, those 425 programs are supported by our $600,000 budget, but the value on the street for that is $1,489,000 to hire a commercial operation to do the same work. The industry standard is that if you can take a budget at its wholesale level and you can find a way to produce approximately double the value, that is, if we could do 1.2 million based on our 600K income, we'd be doing the industry norm. As you can see, we're beating it handily. People get free publicity from us, full technical and craft production support. That is, we do everything. We shoot, we edit, we do the graphics for programs. They own everything, all creative rights without limits that they can then redistribute as they wish. This is what our revenue would look like if we were just following the norm, inflation. We started in 2012 with $600,000 income. Today, if we were tracking with inflation, we would be seeing $835,000. Back when Comcast and Verizon were moving up to gigabit speeds, expanding their services and so on, our income went from 600,000 to around 725,000 because the cable fees were going up and we tracked with that. Today, with cord cutting, we've gone back the other way and still descending. So we are now back where we were in 2012 and still managing to do all the things that we do. We strive very hard when anyone makes a request. We always work very hard to say, yes, no problem. We worked closely with folks here, for instance. When we were renovating this building, we used it as an opportunity to do some upgrades, most of which you can't see, but we ran 600 feet of fiber in this room alone. We upgraded our control room, refreshed a lot of equipment that was aging out. Today I was at the senior center. We installed new PA systems there for them and made some upgrades to plans that they have in October for supporting a karaoke night and so on. So we've made all that happen. These are the sorts of things that we do in the background around town to support the various organizations. There is pending Massachusetts legislation, an internet entertainment fee. It would work very much like the entertainment fee that you have on a live concert or a sporting event. It applies now to online media streaming and video games, similar to cable TV's access fee, and this would supplement our dwindling revenues. Massachusetts House and Senate have pending bills that have already been harmonized to final language. 13 states have already enacted similar laws. What I would ask is that you contact legislators on Beacon Hill and vote your support for local access TV. This would go a long way with ensuring our ongoing future. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Pete.
No problem, Pete. Thank you.
Thank you for all you do. Questions? Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Not a question, Mr. Chairman, just a thank you to Pete and your entire team. You're always pleasant and accommodating, I know, not only to requests that I've had, but requests in the community. You open the facility up for groups that need meeting space. You're at every event. You try to put the information out in multiple different platforms for various users. It's very much appreciated. We see you, the very small paid staff, and we certainly see a gigantic volunteer staff that back you up, that are at sporting events, political events, community events, making sure that we have, quite frankly, the best public television and public radio anywhere that I'm aware of, and certainly one of the nicest facilities. So thank you. I know it's tough to follow what we just went through, but thank you for being a little bit of sunshine in an otherwise pretty dismal meeting.
Well, I mean,
so
for those
thank
who
you.
want it, I'm happy to try to generate some controversy if.
I think we've had enough.
We don't need any help.
Just one of the many ways I'm here for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, yes.
Councilor Chandler.
Quickly, obviously it says for us to contact our legislatures, because as cable goes down, I mean.
They're gonna come and get it.
Right. What's the pipeline now? Are they actively trying to get you more money, the State House?
Yes, the bills are in final form. I've reviewed the bills with Jeff Roy, provided some technical guidance and so forth. So where we are, this was actually attached to the budget that just passed, but it was pulled back by another senator because Senator Feingold in District 1 feels that PEG TV is a relic of the past and that we have no value to anyone. And so because Feingold was prepared to launch a strong move against it, the amendment was pulled from the budget with no prejudice so that we can revisit it at a future time. So that's kind of where it is at this point. It isn't dead, certainly, but we're trying to find ways to get more and more people at the state level to understand exactly what the value is, because in short, meetings like this would become unfunded mandates if we were not able to carry these.
That's true. Okay. We got enough of them. We got enough of them.
Yeah, we don't need any more of those.
Thank you,
All
Mr.
set,
Chairman. Thank you,
Councilor
Peter.
Peter. Any other, Councilor Frangillo?
Just quickly, I mean, all the gratitude that's already been expressed, that you guys are amazing, and you in particular lead such a tight ship over there, and offer services well beyond what's expected of you all. And my big thing was going to be, what do we need? And to me, this one's pretty clear, and so I hope that we take this seriously. I mean, the comment of TV being dead might actually be a reason to, all we're going to do is public access to information will never die. And so if it transfers to YouTube primarily, or streaming or some other online way of getting the access part, is not the part, and the importance of that is not the part that's going to die, hopefully ever in my lifetime. And so as we update the mix of media that's being expected, I think the mix of media that's competing should equally participate in funding the public good. So I would strongly support that I don't know if we should in some formal capacity, but I appreciate you at least bringing a to-do step for us.
We, by the way, are very much on board with the idea of providing what we do through streams. We're on YouTube, whatever we can do to continue refining the internet access to what we do. So we're keeping up with the times. And that said, having an internet entertainment tax and taxing streaming is in keeping with the idea that we're all going there. There is no question about that. And so I think it's just a continuation of the future. And the states that have done this already have implemented it quite successfully. It began in Chicago several years ago, and the city implemented it. And both Netflix and Apple TV began to fight it in the courts, and before they could actually get to the court, they both dropped their cases. And so as a very practical matter, this is sort of settled.
Thank you. Councilor Hamlin.
Are you done?
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through the chair. Pete, I just wanted to thank you for always being very welcoming when you go into Franklin TV. For people who have never been out there, you should go there. Try to do a TV show with everybody. It's really fun. A podcast with Steve Sherlock on Franklin Matters Radio. And you can just, there's so many really cool things there. And the kitchen is amazing. It's really fun to cook things in front of the camera. And I just want to thank you for all the work that everyone does down there. But I also agree with I totally agree with Councilor Frangillo how important this is to have information for the public, for all the government all the things that happen. Like, so maybe we should create a declaration or a resolution to send to a resolution to send to our legislators, just to say, look, we need this. The people in our communities need this, and they deserve it. They need to be able to see all the crazy things we do all the time. So, but thank you, Pete, for all the work you do for everybody, and Chris in the booth over there, and
Chris and Chris.
Chris and Chris and Chris. There's another Chris who does who's on the cameras.
All the
and
Chris's.
Everybody,
All the Chris's.
Chris cubed.
Cubed.
Yeah. So it's really amazing what a great group you have and how well you do everything for us. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We're at risk of people not seeing our faces?
No, they don't have to look at us. There's a lot of other things out there. There's a lot of different channels too, right? So.
At least we could come in pajamas, don't we?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mel beat me to it, but there have been times in the past, and just to throw this out to the council as a whole, where we have we have made resolutions of declaration of support of various things that are up at the state level. It would be keen to offer that up to the council potentially, Mr. Chairman. I think on the future agenda items, I'd like to make that proposal. Or Mel should make it because she's the one who
Or
proposed it.
Kobe.
Yep.
So, thank you. And you're doing a great job. Everyone doing. Chris Cube.
Thank you.
We'll call him.
Chris Cube.
But
Thank you.
everyone's doing a great job. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Councilor Jones. Councilor DeLarco?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't gonna ask anything, Pete, but you brought up one thing. You do a great job, don't get me wrong. Do you know how many states actually adopted a bill like that? I'm just rolling.
Well, right now, there are 13 states that are
Oh, I
active.
didn't hear that.
Yeah.
If you said it, I didn't hear it.
And, yeah, and there are other bills pending elsewhere. Now,
Yeah.
I will say that a few of the bills, because they may not have been crafted properly, ended up not passing muster. And so those things were corrected. So this is very much an ongoing story that is quite dynamic. And over the next 5 years, I think it may end up getting settled at the federal level,
Okay.
perhaps where this might really belong. But in the meantime, Massachusetts could take a bellwether position, which the state is somewhat famous for crafting really quality legislation sometimes that helps
Yeah,
to
we're
address
usually
these things.
right up front with it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, no, thank you, I'm sorry I didn't hear that.
Thank you, Councilor DeLarco. Any other questions or comments? Pete, again, thank you so much for all you do and all your group does. And
Well, I will finalize it by saying that when I first came here in 2012, Ken Norman drove me all over town, and I looked at all the buildings, the senior center, the fire station, everything else, and I said, okay, this town sets a high bar. And I said, my work is cut out for me. I have to find a way to keep up. And of course, a lot of that is, the work, that you did, many of the council members. And so I'm taking my cue from the people that I've gotten to meet here, and I appreciate that very much.
thank you, Pete.
Thanks.
On a side note, just a very quick, only because I got a couple of texts tonight, and I think it might be because during the renovation here, that the microphones sounded very scratchy tonight. And I have people saying that same thing, so I just got a couple of texts. So I thought
So
I'd
it's not perfect, Pete.
Not perfect yet.
Not while
Pete,
we have you
but
here.
close.
Right.
But since you're here,
Yeah, we've made a
Tech
couple of
support,
adjustments in
please.
there on the
Don't let
fly.
that hold it.
I figured it might have
Yes.
something to do with the changes when you redid everything. Jane, did you have a very quick question or
Yeah,
comment?
actually, just a quick question, a statement. I just want to understand something. When you had it up there, I saw the word Netflix. That I understand. So is what this gonna do gonna be like so people would pay a monthly fee to stream it live? Is that what that is?
Well, no one would pay to stream us live. If we're on streaming, we're basically free. So we don't charge anything.
So it'd be
for
like
people
if you
to
were on
see our
YouTube?
streams.
Like if you were streaming for YouTube, then we would just get it?
Right.
Okay, then my other thing is that form that you're asking for people to send, is it just for like the council or can like
Any
anybody do
citizen
it?
can contact your
Can
legislators.
we have them put on the website so we can just click on a link and send it out?
It'll be on Franklin Matters tomorrow, it's on Franklin TV tonight.
There you go.
Because that way, I think it is important because especially with the, above everything else, with all the town meetings that this town likes to have, we need access. Thank you.
I would also point out that, by the way, Netflix and Apple TV and the rest of them have not raised their rates because of this.
Oh.
Because they have to have a national rate, obviously, state to state to state to state. It's got to be very consistent.
Right.
So I don't think that if in fact there is a minor assessment on the streaming fees that these national organizations charge, nobody's actually going to experience it, so,
Thank you, Pete.
thank you.
Okay, well, since it, let's get rid of, let's get rid of his resolutions here. Resolution 24-53, one of my favorites. Cable funds in support of PEG service and programming per Mass General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 53, F and 3/4. Clerk will read the resolution.
Motion to waive the reading.
Second.
No offense, Pete.
All
He
in
just wants
favor
the
of
money anyway.
waiving the reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move resolution 24-53.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 24-54, cable funds in support of PEG service and programming per Mass General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 53, F and 3/4. Clerk will read the resolution.
Motion to waive the reading.
Second.
All those in favor of waiving the reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move resolution 24-54.
Second.
Motion is second, discussion, seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
Okay, moving on, next item on the agenda is Chapter 61B, right of first refusal on Maplegate Country Club. Jamie, you want to do the lead-in?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, sure. So Attorney Brown and the representatives are here for the folks, the proponents of the solar farm over on Maplegate Country Club. This has been enrolled in Chapter 61B for many years. I'm giving a quick overview just so that people at home understand this. And they have received, gone through the planning board process both in Franklin and Bellingham. And now before the council tonight is the right of first refusal, which is in Mass General Law. The town has a right of first refusal over 120 days to outright purchase a parcel of land that has been permitted after giving tax breaks for many years through the Chapter 61 program, which is intended to try to incentivize the sustainability of agriculture, farms, recreation, forestry, and other open spaces. As you can see from the memo, the price tag is daunting. It is $25,337,930 at a 3.5% interest rate. Obviously, the town of Franklin does not have the cash to purchase that.
Yeah.
So you'd have to borrow the money. Well, there's a lot of misinformation out there, so I just want to make sure it's clear to people that there is no cash to buy this. And if you borrowed it over 20 years at a 3.5% interest rate, you're approximately looking at about a $1.8 million annual cost. That blows out of the water what CPA could afford. At the end of the day, the only option you really have is to really do a debt exclusion vote at the ballot to be able to purchase this. Other than that, I think it's the professional opinion, as I've written here in the memo. This is just one of those that unfortunately the town's just not in a position to purchase. And so if the town attorney corrects me, he can, but I believe this is intended for discussion tonight. There's no actual legislation for action. If the council wanted to purchase this, then we would go through a process at future meetings to lay out how we would be able to do that. Otherwise, I would defer to the attorney. I don't believe any action is tonight required. You don't have to vote it down. You just have to basically say that you give up your right of first refusal because there's no way to buy it.
Doesn't have to be any legislation.
Well, there needs to
do
be
that?
some kind, in all due respect.
Yeah, I
There
understand.
needs to be some kind of a record that the town has.
Right.
Otherwise, the parties have to wait the 420 days and get it by the fall. So some type of legislation needs to be passed
On refusal.
or a vote made.
Is that something that we can do tonight, or is it something that we need to put on the next agenda?
I would frankly put it on the next agenda. It's not listed.
I would concur because I don't,
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So,
just to give the community proper notice that this was coming before us as a piece of legislation. So we will do that, but tonight is a discussion. Please, if you would mind introducing yourselves.
Certainly. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. My name is Peter Brown. I'm an attorney from Brown Legal, PLLC. Along with me is attorney Alma Chiata. We represent the property owner, Maplegate Realty Trust, through its trustee. I don't really have anything to add that hasn't been stated by Mr. Helen and the deputy administrator through their memorandum. This is what the law requires. The property owner has received the benefit through your community of the recreational tax exemption. When they go through this process of a sale, you are entitled to notice, you are entitled to purchase the property, and we have to go and follow through that procedure. We have notified, the town of that from the very beginning, from the time that we did our pre-review with council and Mr. Helen, as well as about a year of permitting through the Franklin boards and the Bellingham boards. So we completed that about a month ago, and now this is the final step. So it is before you, and I believe you've been provided, all of the information. Essentially what happens is you'll take a vote, whether it's tonight or at the next meeting, according to whatever your administration suggests. That vote gets memorialized in a document and it gets recorded at the Registry of Deeds together with the sale. But I would defer on the logistics to your council.
Well, presumably, if you want that document to go to the registry, then it needs to go through the proper process, which means on the agenda, because it wasn't included as an item tonight. Voted at the next one, then you get a certified copy from the town clerk and take it to the registry.
Right.
Understood.
Which, that's,
Yes.
I think, the process that I'd like to follow here.
if we say no.
Question, yeah, if we say no. Questions or comments from the council?
Have to be right.
And it's probably in there, I didn't
Sure.
read it closely, but I saw the number and that was enough to
Scare us away.
scare away, but is that, because part of the property's in Franklin, part of the property's in Bellingham?
Is it
Is that 25 million the Franklin property or the total property?
So the way it works, it's one total property that
total
makes up the two solar arrays. The entire solar array is on Franklin property. Bellingham has a couple of miscellaneous lots and the access is through Bellingham. But the way the law works is the property as it's historically been controlled and utilized gets put together and sold as one package. And that was the purchase and sale agreement from a few years ago.
I just think it's important for, because
Right.
I know the
Correct.
community knows half, part of it's in Bellingham and part.
Unfortunately for my client, if you were to say yes and Bellingham were to say yes, we don't get 50.6, we would only get 25.3.
Understood. Councilor Jones?
Mr. Chairman, just point of clarification through you in regards to, actually, to the town administrator. Would it be in our interest to negotiate electricity deal with the future solar farm that's going to be going there? Or that, it's not relevant to the sale, but just
Attorney
just something
Sorrell.
to think about.
Go for it, Mark.
No, this is a self-contained right that was part of land protections statutory scheme.
I didn't think it was attached to this, I'm just making a relative statement.
As a matter of fact, the legislation was substantially rewritten as a result of a Franklin case that we lost, so that when it's presented, it's now, they've gone through, the would-be buyer has exhausted all contingencies, and we've been presented with a firm, fixed price with no contingencies. So there's no game plan.
When can we put the taxes back? where
That's
they
it,
were?
yeah, that was our question too.
That's me and Brian, we just.
Yeah.
That's just talking about.
And upon the closing, there are also rollback taxes that Franklin does receive as part of that process.
Okay.
Wow, great. Fantastic.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Roll back to the 70s?
It's a big check.
Probably a long time ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quite a while ago, for
It's
sure.
not bad.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Brian, did you?
No, that was my question,
Oh,
so thank
okay,
you,
sorry.
yes. No, we're all on the
Sorry
same
for
page.
stepping
We were all on the same page.
Yeah.
Counselor Frangillo?
It was just to clarify, I think we got there, but it's just to clarify that, yeah, the proposed use of the land would be just solar farms, and it would cover the
That's-
meaningful, extent of that area.
That's correct. The permitting is limited for the use of the solar array. That's what the planning board approved.
It's gonna be huge.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Jamie, did you have anything to add?
Also.
So what's the next meeting?
So the next meeting is on the 18th.
On the 18th, yeah.
Of September? Yep.
Can we put that
We'll get
piece
you-
of
we'll
legislation?
get you right on there.
Yep.
We'll get it done that night.
Just expedite that tax check.
I think you kind of,
Yes, sir.
you have a gist of which way we're going.
Send it to us electronically. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Okay,
thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Davis-Thayer reuse committee, and that was on for a discussion item this evening. And basically,
Deb couldn't make it.
Yeah.
basically what I was looking to do tonight was for us just to acknowledge receipt of the summary report from the subcommittee. And since Councilor Pellegrini chaired that committee, was unable to attend, I might ask Tim to, Councilor.
I know you're kidding.
Councilor Cormier Ledger, who vice chaired that committee, if you just kind of
Sure.
run us through that summary, if you
Sure.
wouldn't mind.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just give me a second to pull it
Sure.
up.
Sorry. I've-
Nope, that's okay. Do you want me to read the, no?
No, I think just the highlights is, because everybody got a copy of it, so.
Yeah, I mean,
Just for the listening
Sure.
audience.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the public's knowledge, we had several meetings. The panel was charged with listening to community input for what could be done, not only with the building, but with the land. We certainly looked at, did it make sense to divide it? Did it make sense to save the building? There were discussions around the facade. We agreed at one point in the process to put it out for not an RFP, but just to get some information from possible stakeholders as to what they could do with the property. So we had several entities send proposals, and they came before us and explained. Some went down the road of housing, some went down the road of recreational space, some went more down the road of it being sort of an art and cultural center. It was the overwhelming opinion of the committee that we did not want the town to sell the parcel or the building. The committee felt strongly that exploring long-term lease options with potential future entities was in the best interest of the town. And when I say long-term, we were thinking 50-year, 100-year type leases, so that down the road, some future council, if they decided they wanted to do something different, the land wasn't gone, the building wasn't gone. We heard from Dean College, we heard from, like I said, several folks about things they could do. We felt like our recommendation to the council was then to recommend the town attorney and town administrator to formulate an actual RFP and to start exploring what I think essentially will be lease options, for the building and for the land. The three entities that came before us, I believe, are still interested in exploring further. I didn't hear anybody back out at the last meeting that we had. And I would encourage everybody, if you haven't seen those meetings or read the documents, to take a look at some of the proposed uses, because they're pretty cool. We also strongly asked that the ball field remain, because it was a critical need in town, given how much use it gets, and that probably couldn't get replaced if it was demolished and made into something else. The committee also recognized that there may be a need for an additional building on the property in order for, if we were to ask another entity to take on the Davis-Thayer structure itself with all of its issues, with all of its costly renovation issues, that they may need to do another building to make money, to kind of offset their gigantic investment. So we understood that may come with future proposals.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier.
Sure.
Jamie, anything to add?
No, I would just say that the meetings were really informative. There was a lot of great dialogue about a lot of stuff going on in town. You know, the police station came up at a couple meetings, and, you know, recreation came up at a couple meetings, and we had the chief here for a meeting, and Ryan came in, I think, Jetty. You know, I would encourage people that are really interested in this topic. I think if you looked at YouTube, it may only be 8 to 10 hours worth of footage or so. The meetings weren't really exorbitantly long, but they were filled with a lot of information, and I would encourage people who want to be a part of this process to go back and try to tune into those. There's a one-stop shop website. You know, I think ultimately whatever the next step for the council is to make a group decision of 9 people of what all of you view as the future of that parcel and or building. And I think the challenge is obviously going to be, there are going to be a lot of varied opinions, both on the council but also from the community. That's pretty normal in these circumstances. And we'll just try to see what the group thinks next. And I think we'll have to try to focus on another discussion at some point and make a firm decision. I mean, at some point, you're going to have to put out a public RFP. We're going to have to make it clear, if the council goes with the recommendations from the committee, it'll have to be very clear that this is a lease option, or the building is not to be torn down. There's probably going to have to be a preservation restriction on the exterior if you're trying to preserve the facade. So there's going to be a lengthy discussion on all of this for sure. There's a lot of details. You know, I'm just very thankful and glad that the committee got through it all, and I think they were very good meetings and they were very informative. And we had a couple great open houses that were attended by hundreds of people. Selfies everywhere, people going into taking pictures in classrooms, showing kids where they were in school. The bathrooms are old in there, I can tell you that. They don't look like the new schools, do they, Mr. Chairman? And you know, so I think it was a lot of fun for a lot of people to run through Davis-Thayer one more time. And take a few shots down in the basketball gym downstairs. So it was a great process. And you all, of course, know you have an enormous decision in front of you. And this is one that I think, given the location, given the passion in the community, this year is Davis-Thayer's 100th anniversary. You know, this one may take some time, and that's okay. Because, you know, obviously in the long run, we've got to get it right. So thank you.
My thought process with this was to put this on as a full-blown discussion at a future meeting. Obviously, when Councilor Pellegrini is here as well, she chaired that subcommittee. And then take it one step at a time, making sure we're doing the right things as we move forward, and asking for residents' input as well. Continuing to get, I know the subcommittee had a lot of resident input, and I think we should continue to be looking for that input as we move forward and have deeper discussions about it. Is there any questions of Councilor Cormier-Ledger, the subcommittee from the council? Great report, and thank you, and I'm sorry for
Great
putting you
job,
on
Tim.
the spot.
That's
Thank you,
okay.
Ted.
That's okay. Sure. I wanted to just quickly thank, Councilor Sheridan served with me on that, so thank you for that, and thank you to all of the members that gave their time. A nice panel from throughout the community that served on that subcommittee. So.
Great. Thank you. Okay, moving on. We have more legislation for action. Resolution 24-55, healthcare group insurance transfer. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-55, appropriation of funds from the Group Insurance Trust Fund to pay costs of liabilities incurred under the town's group health insurance plan. Appropriation, Group Insurance Trust Fund, total amount requested, $542,623. Whereas the town of Franklin has a group insurance trust fund created under Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 3A, and wishes to appropriate funds therefrom to pay for the cost of liabilities incurred under town's group health insurance plan. Now therefore be it ordered by the town council by the town of Franklin that the sum of $542,623 be appropriated from the group insurance trust fund to pay the costs of liabilities incurred under town's group health insurance plan. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 24-55.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I wrote a pretty lengthy memo, 2 pages on the scenario. I won't go into all the details, but this is to authorize me to expend up to the $542,000 to cover the costs of some extraordinarily large healthcare bills this year. I would even, as I've reflected on it to some degree, there's no way we could have statistically have prepared for this. This was an act of God almost within 4 months of about 6 very significant cases. I have the charts in here. Our loss runs as an organization under our health insurance premium for employees is astronomically high. So when people ask about loss runs, so for every dollar of premium that our employees pay, the healthcare company is paying $1.45 out in services. So they're losing a lot of money, right? And so economically, in the strategic group that we're in with 23 districts and communities and school districts as well, you know, about a half a dozen, a little bit more than a half a dozen communities have seen some enormously high claims. This is a way to provide some cash flow into the system to make sure the group is sustainable, and that we try to alleviate to the best possible ability any of that. Fortunately, the good news is number one, I just want to be clear with everybody, this is up to. The HR director and I believe that that is not really the accurate number, and so this is just authorizing me to be able to pay that settlement. I do think the number is actually far lower than this, by at least 100,000, but I've got to work with the health insurance consultants and everybody to finalize all that, and I would anticipate that in the next month. I also want to make it clear this does not have any impact on the FY24 or FY25 budget, but it is a very, very severe and shocking warning about what's to come for the rest of this year, as we're only in September, and then also FY26. We are having our first Insurance Advisory Committee meeting in a couple weeks. We're going to be meeting every month, probably throughout the year. This is a grassroots, ground-up decision. This is not something I unilaterally make. This is a group decision. We've done a lot of creative things with healthcare. People can read about them in the budget narrative for many years. But the reality is that not only are those cases expensive, but just across the board from our entire subscriber base for town and schools, we represent thousands of individuals on healthcare. And the numbers do not look good. They are very concerning to me, and this should be a very big concern for the entire community as we get started on the healthcare budget. You will see next week in my joint budget subcommittee memo, which is very short at this point for a 5-year fiscal forecast, we're anticipating a 13% increase on healthcare, and that's just an educated guess at this point. It could be a lot higher than that. So we have some pretty significant issues to address with employee health care over the next year. So happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Jamie, how much is in the fund now?
About 760,000.
So taking up to 542,000 from it would leave you
About
less
200 to
than
300.
$200,000.
Yeah. We have not had a drawdown or an expenditure out of this account in 20-plus years.
Okay, but
This was actually the inverse years ago, where when the town was self-insured 30-something years ago, when that self-insured system broke down or other communities left, Franklin was in the positive, so we got lucky. We were one of those communities 35 years ago, so there was a surplus. And then the town used that as a way to introduce health and care back into the budget and kind of paid medical bills through the late 80s and 90s. We have not had an expenditure out of this trust fund because it is very, very limited legally what we can spend it on. Right. I can't just put it in the budget. I can't just do that. It's for this purpose. So it's a safety net. And to your point, Councilor Cormier-Ledger, the safety nets are evaporating. So budgetarily speaking, we have to really start to get very serious about the expectations of what we're setting throughout the community and what we can afford. Because these things are here, and you're absolutely right. This is very concerning because that safety net will be far less than what it is today. But this is also why it's here today.
No, I appreciate the explanation. So basically, if for some reason there was another catastrophic 4 gigantic claims like you mentioned, we wouldn't be able to sustain it without affecting operating.
That's correct, and you would likely in a situation like in the mid-fiscal year, you'd be looking at like rate hikes on employee health care, which affects the school budget significantly, affects the town budget a little bit less. But just as importantly, in a time of high inflation, it's affecting obviously all of our employees a significant amount. So it's certainly uncharted territory.
My last question, Mr. Chairman, to the town administrator. How much do we contribute to this fund from operating every year?
Zero.
So just so everyone knows, where does the money come from?
So money came just a few moments ago. It came from a surplus 35 years ago. It's money that's been literally just sitting there.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
So it's been sitting there all this time?
Yes.
It's
Right.
not something we contribute to build up?
No, but it did
right?
earn interest over those 30 years.
Yeah.
So actually, we've accumulated money through that over time in interest, which is giving us still a little surplus in that account, despite this issue.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, I
That's okay.
misunderstood. But okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Frondillo?
Just quickly, you spoke to it, but just want to confirm that there's no cause for concern, like there's no pattern in why these claims came forward that would cause us to revisit practices or anything?
It's a broad question. So
Yeah, I don't know,
it
like
is.
why?
Yeah, no,
why is
we
this
have to.
unprecedented?
I think. So on the one hand, the reality is that our employees. This is not a critique. Consume a lot of healthcare, right? So whether it's doctor visits, surgeries, that's why it's there. I mean, this is an ideological debate too, as much as anything else. But in terms of patterns. Yeah, I do think that there's a microscope that has to go on what our trends have been. I think our employees have to look at those trends and be honest with those trends and what they are. And I think as a group, we need to figure out what those trends are, how we can try to avoid them, what their responsibility may be, and what our responsibility may be. In some ways, we're victims of our own success for the last 10 or 15 years with the Insurance Advisory Committee, because you have representatives from every union, non-union, school, and town in a room looking at the numbers, looking at the plan design, and coming up with group decisions. And fortunately, for many years, it's been pretty productive. The Health Savings Account program for the last 5 or 6 years has saved us significantly, a lot. But this is a whole nother ball of wax. And I think as we move forward, we're going to be looking at GIC, which has its pros and cons. We're going to be looking at new consortiums. And we're just going to actually get to a point where maybe we're going to have to be honest with everybody and just say, if we want to be competitive and we want good benefits for employees to recruit great talent, particularly on the school department side, I would say, is even just as important, if not more important than our side. We're going to have to look at that 68-32 ratio, get to 70-30. But I think we're going to have to be much more honest and straight up and say, if we're going to be trying to attract talent, the cost of employee health care is so large that we're gonna have to deal with the reality of what it is to make sure that we have the best insurance we can to try to attract those employees. And so there's gonna be a lot of very, very challenging discussions coming up in the next year, and it is going to be very expensive at some point. So, you know, I think there's a lot of different choices with a lot of pros and cons to each one of them, and we're gonna make a group decision through the IAC.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor DeLarco?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think you kind of just hit the nail on the head, Jamie. I mean, as far as like as a union
Yeah.
official, you know, these town jobs, the Massport jobs I worked with, and, you know, you kind of took a little, you know, kind of took a little cut and pay because your health insurance was so good, you know, so you know, I had 3 kids, I didn't pay for a dime
Yeah.
when I was, you know, I mean, it was great. And, you know, slowly went bad, and I have to totally agree with Jamie that if we want to attract people, because I can see over at Massport, we're not, you know, they're paying too much in premiums, they're paying, and it's getting, people, it's getting tough. So I do totally agree with you, Jamie, that, you know, I mean, I might be talking like a union guy, but I'm just saying that, you know, that's the way it was. When I was at the T, I think I paid $10 for a phone in my wife's room when we had 3 kids, you know, I mean, that was it. And I didn't pay a dime at the time. I didn't pay a dime for Blue Cross Blue Shield, Master Medical Health Plus.
Yeah. Wow. Remember the old 90, remember the 95-5 splits?
Yeah.
Really, right?
You know?
Those are the good old days,
So
and those days are gone.
I do agree with you totally on that.
Any other
Thanks,
questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-55. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 24-56, gift acceptance, Recreation Department, $2,000. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 24-56, acceptance of gifts, Recreation Department. Whereas the Recreation Department has received a generous donation of $2,000 to be used at the discretion of the department as follows. Donation summary for the Rec Department, $2,000. Donations to be used at the department's discretion towards the purchase of recreational and other related equipment to fund departmental programs. Donor information is listed in the September 4th, 2024 Town Council meeting agenda packet. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Franklin, on behalf of the Recreation Department, gratefully accepts this generous donation to be used at the discretion of the department for the purposes noted above. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move Resolution 24-56.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie, anything? Just thank you very much.
It's Maplewood, yeah.
For the continued support for different departments within the community. So seeing no further discussion, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 24-56. Again, a majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Town Administrator's report.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman, really quickly, next week, Wednesday, I think it's next week, September 11th, is our first joint budget subcommittee meeting. I'll have a very sketched out 5-year fiscal forecast, the budget calendar, and some other information for people that are interested in the budget. They should tune in for that meeting. Congratulations to Ryan Jetty, $2,500 grant from the Mass Cultural Council to pay for concerts on the Common next year. So congratulations, Ryan. Congratulations to Julie McCann in our office. We were awarded another grant from the state for $10,000 to purchase GPS tracking software to be installed in our town electrical fleet cars, which is really great, through a Maya grant. And so we appreciate Julie and the Safety Committee's efforts on that. And finally, we want to welcome Allison Smith. Allison is our new Deputy Library Director. She comes from Needham. She's fantastic. She just started yesterday. So if anybody's down at the library, ask for Allison, introduce yourself. We're expecting big things out of her. We're really excited for her. We're really excited for Felicia. She comes with a great background in library science from some communities that I know we're all aiming to aspire to be. So we're hopefully bringing a little Needham and maybe a little Wellesley out to here, at least that experience at the library. So we're very grateful for Allison, and we all welcome her to the community. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, subcommittee, ad hoc committee reports. Capital has not met. EDC has met. Councilor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the Economic Development Subcommittee met before the full council meeting today. We announced the selection of our branding project. We interviewed, the selection committee interviewed 5 different groups, and we picked A.J. Rebecki. He is from Franklin. And so we're very excited that we're supporting a Franklin a resident and a independent business owner. I would like to thank Amy Frigaretti for all her work in setting up the selection committee. Brian Taberner was on it, Corey Shea, and myself. We were all on the selection committee. AJ will come in and meet the EDC at the next meeting, which is on the 18th.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Hamblin. Budget subcommittee, no, next time we will. Master Plan Committee, Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Master Plan Committee met yesterday because there was conflict with the council, so we moved it to Tuesday at 6:30. We had discussed finalizing or draft goals and objectives in order to send them out to the departments for review. They will have roughly 3.5 weeks to review them and return for further discussion on October 2nd.
Great, thank you, Councilor Jones. Davis-Thayer, no. Police station, no. GATRA, Councilor, no. All set. Okay, we'll move on. Future agenda items. Councilor Jones.
Mr. Chairman, I think one of my fellow councilors actually had a comment about putting forth on the future agenda to discuss legislation in order to support the bills that the Franklin TV brought up tonight. Just some type of declaration or resolution.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to have on the coming up agenda what Max brought up tonight to expand the tax break for seniors. I think we should discuss it if we, just to see if it will fit with our plans.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Put it
Mr.
on
Chairman.
future.
Agree.
Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, echo both of those. The addition I had, any update on our progress on our climate goal would be great. This is, I think, the 3rd funding cycle, maybe longer, that we've missed out on green communities money, which is like, we're a green community, and almost if you get something in, you get the money. And my understanding was that we hadn't been eligible because we had won a grant, hadn't finished that project, which means we couldn't apply to other ones. But it's been a few cycles, so whatever the progress is, I'd love a progress report on that.
Absolutely.
Money.
For sure. Every opportunity. Councilor Sheridan.
Nothing this time.
Councilor DeLorco.
Nothing at this time. I'd like to, in October, at some point, I would like to bring the school department in and see how everything's going in the school with the migrants and everything like that, and see how things are going with them.
We can ask them to come in for an update. We had talked about having them come in a couple of 3 times a year, so. Councilor Chandler.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if it's necessarily a discussion or if it's more of a procedural matter, but I'd like to see us take a look at public comments being moved in the agenda.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think they get made at, 7:05, 7:10. Sometimes we're here 4 or 5 hours later. People online have long gone to bed. People, any opportunity to respond has happened. Nobody's watching a YouTube video that's 5 hours long. So any of those things brought up for staff or for any of us to be able to respond, there isn't really adequate time. So I think if we possibly could think about public comments being toward the end of our agenda. We might also see people stay, but also it would give more of an immediate response to some of the things being asked or brought up, particularly because oftentimes things might be said incorrectly, or, you know, there might be some misinformation. So I would just appreciate if we could look at
Sure,
that.
we can put that on as a discussion item on a future agenda.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, councilor comments. Councilor Hamlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to thank Jen and Jim of the Safe Coalition for the overdose awareness vigil on Saturday night. It was very moving. It always is. And together we can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hamlin. Councilor Frangillo?
I would certainly echo that. My only comment was going to be a reminder to those in the downtown partnership that their general meeting is back tomorrow.
Thank you.
Is it 9 a.m.?
8:30.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Sheridan?
Nothing this time.
Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple quick comments, one of which is license compliances. I know we don't typically announce when license compliances are, but do we have any funding to go around and do another round of license compliance? Because I haven't heard anything lately from the police chief or anybody.
That's a grant, isn't it? Do you want to tell them all before we show up? No, I'm just
No, I don't. I don't
no,
want them to. But
They do them two or three times a
typically
year.
we do. I just haven't.
They follow the law and the procedure. We haven't had any violations in a while. Our
That's
businesses
great.
have complied.
And I'm sure everyone saw the news, and Jamie, you and I were talking about this earlier. Didn't come up during the discussion when BJ's was here, but the city of Boston, 225 new licenses. Imagine if we get
They're gonna-
saturated
they're gonna be
with
different,
that. That would
Whole different
that
ballgame.
would be a nightmare.
We have an unlimited quota right now, so we don't, for serving.
For serving, yeah.
Well, common victualist licenses, yes, but I mean, are these not just like brand new liquor licenses that they're gonna?
Yeah, they distributed them out throughout the neighborhoods.
Wow, 13 different zip codes.
Yep.
Competition.
All set?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Cormier-Legend.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few things. On a positive note, I had a wonderful meeting this morning at the Franklin Performing Arts Center, and kudos to Corey Shea, because I asked point blank of the director there how that relationship was with a new position here in town, and was she getting the support that we had hoped from the position, and how was that going? And she spoke accolades about Corey and about the work that she's been doing to help liaise between the various art and culture groups in town, which is what we intended for the position. She spoke very highly of some projects and some grant opportunities that they were collaborating on. And I was really excited to see that some art and music programs were coming on Saturdays for kids in the community that maybe weren't participating fully in the FPAC programs, but especially in light of some of the cuts at the school department level, I thought it was very timely. So thank you to everybody involved with that. I just want to sort of piggyback on my comments earlier about, in general, comments that get made in meetings and especially on social media. I think we can do better as a community. I think people need to tone back the vitriol. I think people need to tone back the assaults. And I would truly hope that folks in the community can respect that all of us are still people, and all of us are business owners and parents and husbands and wives, and we are doing the very best we can. The name calling has to stop. All of those private little hate groups on Facebook aren't doing anything other than driving us further and further apart as a community. That's right. And I hope that people will just pause for a few minutes and say, you know what, there's a better way to engage elected officials. Call us, have coffee with us, meet with us. But attacking just to beat everybody down, it's not helpful, and it's certainly not making Franklin the great community that it should be. And I think I'll just end with, the nation saw a terrible tragedy again today in Georgia, and thoughts and prayers don't seem to do enough, but I certainly want everybody affected and impacted to know that we're thinking of them, and hopefully smarter, saner minds that govern these laws can prevail. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier-Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Nothing tonight, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor DeLarco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I echo Councilor Cormier-Ledger, especially with the, what happened down in Georgia today. You might think I'm a little mean, but there's got to be a point where we got to put police into the schools. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's what's going to happen. That's what stopped that kid tonight, was the school resource officer. He's the one that stopped him, and they said he was told him to either surrender or he was going to die, and he surrendered. So, I mean, you got to protect the kids, but I don't know what people are thinking anymore. And Glenn, just so you know, those licenses in Boston, they're in different areas.
Yeah.
Because what happened, because I'm from Hyde Park, we used to have 19, when we used to go out on a Saturday afternoon, I could hit 19 bars.
Within a block.
That's what we used to do, have one drink at every bar. And there's only,
Bar hopping. I grew up in Watertown, I know.
there's only one bar left, because they all sold their licenses to Black Falcon Pier and Faneuil Hall and down there. And you can't blame them, because they got huge money for it, so now these
Local taverns are
local taverns are gone. I think there's one bar left in that stretch. But, yeah.
Lincoln was one of my favorite places in Providence.
Yeah, it was great. So, but no, outside of that, it's true. I just want to let you know.
Okay.
Franklin used to have a few too.
We had our share in the day, for sure. More than our share. Okay, let's see. We do have a need for the sole purpose to review, approve, and vote to release executive session minutes. And we will not return to open session. I so declare. Clerk will.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session for sole purpose of review, approve, and vote to release executive session minutes and to not return to open session.
Second.
Yep, I'm on it. Yep.
Good night, guys, thank you.
Cormier-Ledger.
Yes.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Chandler.
Yes.
Frangillo.
Yes.
Blakely's absent. Hamblin.
Yes.
Jones, yes. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
9-0. 8-1 absent, sir.